Ryan Davis is suing his former landlord, Alex Zadie, for a false arrest and bail money.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2027, Davis versus Zadie.
Thank you. Mr. Davis, a couple of years ago, you were a tenant of the defendant's.
Correct, Your Honor.
You rented a room from him?
Correct, Your
in
Honor.
his house. For how long?
For about a year, a little over.
From when to when?
2020, I want to say the beginning of the year till about the end.
Do you remember the dates that he was a tenant?
Yes, they're incorrect what he's saying. It was
What?
from May of 2020 to November 2020.
Does that sound right, Mr. Davis?
Something like that, yeah.
May, June, July, August, September, October, and when in November did he leave?
I believe it was by the 10th.
This is what your case is about. Briefly, it is your claim that you and Mr. Zadie had some sort of an argument.
Correct.
Which you'll tell me about. And Mr. Zadie called the police. You were taken from the premises.
Mm-hmm.
You were arrested, spent the night in jail, bailed yourself out. And this happened in 2020.
Correct.
In November of 2020. Your lawsuit is for false arrest and actual damages. You had to post bail and for filing a false police report. The reason that you have delayed for 2 years in bringing this case against him is because you say you had another action pending.
Correct, Your Honor.
What was the nature of the other action that you had pending?
It was a speeding issue with the police.
Well, it's not a speeding issue with the police. Were you stopped for speeding?
It
Were
was a
you
28
arrested for speeding?
Yes, I was, Your Honor.
You were arrested for speeding.
Yeah, and they called it a 2800 VC, if my memory serves me correct.
Well, I don't know what that is.
It's, I guess, evading.
Look into it.
In what city and state do you live?
Irvine, California.
Let me understand this. Very few people are arrested for speeding. You remember what you were arrested for, sir? You weren't arrested for speeding.
They called it evading an officer because I didn't pull over right away.
So you were evading an officer. Let's try that, Sarah.
Evading a police officer in a vehicle. It's vehicle code 2800-1.
Yeah, there it is.
Okay, what does it say?
Prohibits evading an officer in a vehicle, which means willfully fleeing from a police officer when the officer is pursuing the person in a car or on a bike. The offense is a misdemeanor punishable by up to 1 year in jail.
Okay, so you had a misdemeanor pending, right? Anything
Correct.
else?
No, that was it.
Anything else historically?
Yes, I did have historical priors and cases and stuff from my past. Yes, I did.
Recent past or distant past?
Distant past.
How distant?
Years. I want to say 2004.
Okay.
Yeah.
Don't have to go into 2004. So you had this case pending and you felt that it was inappropriate to bring a civil case against him.
Yeah, because I didn't want the cases to intertwine, Your Honor.
They weren't going to intertwine. The case that he brought against you was eventually dismissed.
Correct.
In what month and year was it dismissed?
It was dismissed the same month, about 2 weeks after that.
Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. So let me understand this. He alleged that you assaulted him or threatened him. You were taken into custody. The DA examined the case and decided not to prosecute it.
Correct.
And that was 2 years ago.
Correct.
Well, I don't know who gave you advice, sir, or whether you did this on your own, but bringing a civil case against someone for something has no impact whatsoever on a pending criminal case, be it a felony or a misdemeanor. You know, if you were driving in a car and someone hit you in the rear in November of 2020, and you waited 2 years to bring that because you had this evading a police officer action and you thought that that was a valid reason, your case would be dismissed for the hit in the rear and whatever injuries you had, because you're supposed to bring these things in a timely fashion.
I understand.
2 years is not a timely fashion. Now that I've suggested that to you, I would like to hear what you say transpired in November 2020, to the best of your recollection.
On November the 9th, 2020, me and my former landlord, Alex Zadie over here, we had an argument about a guest that I had over.
Okay. You had an argument over the phone or in person?
Over the phone.
Tell me how that phone call was initiated.
He texted me some things, and I called him because I wanted to...
Okay. He texted you. Do you have a copy of that text?
No, I don't have the text.
Do you recall what that text said?
Yes, I do.
Tell me what it said.
I told him that he has to get his girlfriend out of the house because she's been coming in every day, day and night. staying there.
Okay, so you said, in effect, I rented you this room, not your girlfriend.
Correct.
You got to get her out of the house.
Yes.
Okay.
I had
You remember
already
her name?
addressed to him
Just
prior.
just a second. You remember her name?
Not.
What was her name?
Tawana.
Now, when
The
you
woman I
rented the
was in
room
love
in May, just a second. When you rented the room in May and you moved in, did Tawana move in with you?
She did not move in with me.
So when you rented the room for yourself in May, you rented the room as a single person.
Correct, Your Honor.
Okay. And when did you bring Tawana into the room?
It would be once in a while.
No. What month, sir?
I don't recall the exact month.
What month, sir?
It started happening like back in August, every day. It started one day, then every other day, and then it became constant day and night
For how long?
for a long, long time till towards the November when it just went out of proportion.
The argument was about having his girlfriend, according to you, practically living there.
Right.
And you didn't want her there.
No.
Okay, because you rented a room to a single man who, until the girlfriend started to come in, I assume you didn't have trouble with.
Right.
So that's what your text message said to him in November. And as a result of that text message, you called him on the phone. I'm just trying to lay out the story.
Okay.
So you called him on the phone and you said what to him and he said what to you?
I don't recall exactly what I said to him, but I remember he told me to tell her, get the out, get out my house, get the out right now. Your girlfriend is a. He was saying a bunch of derogatory things over the phone to me, and then hung up in my face. I'm working at the time, so when I came back.
Did you call your girlfriend?
No, I didn't call her.
Did you text her?
We speak regularly. We're talking all
No,
the time.
then.
Yeah, she knew about it. She did.
Don't tell me what she knew. I just asked you if you texted her or called her.
Yeah, I did.
You did. And when you texted or called her, was she in the house? Was she in your room?
No, she was gone already at this time. When we
Is
were
that-
arguing,
just
she
a
was.
second. Is that because he told her to leave?
No, she was leaving already. She had work to go to. She wasn't living there. She had her own place and job in Lakewood, California. And I would tell him that all the time, but he would always insinuate that, oh, no, she's living there. I'm like, no, she's not. She pays $2,000 in rent.
He lives in the house with you.
Right.
Now, before Tawana, had you had any difficulty with him? You
None
moved
at
in
all.
May. May, did you have any difficulty? No.
No.
June, did you have any difficulty?
No.
July, did you have any difficulty?
No.
No. You didn't have difficulty until Tawana came.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was the difficulty. So he told you in a very rude way, if I accept that, to get Tawana out of his house.
Correct, Your Honor.
Then you came home from work. What time did you get home from work?
About 9-ish.
And Tawana was gone.
Yes, she was gone.
Had she taken her things?
There was nothing for her to take. She didn't bring stuff over there. She wasn't living there.
No, but she came over there and stayed a few days a week and never had
Maybe
any
an
stuff.
overnight bag.
Okay,
That's
but
it.
she took
Yeah.
it with her when she
Yeah,
left.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you got home about 9 o'clock, and what happened?
I got home at 9 and I said, don't disrespect me and my woman. You know, this is the woman I
Okay.
love.
When you got home, you walked in the front door. Where was he?
He was in the kitchen and he had a female guest there too. That was
He's
there
allowed
for
to have a
weeks.
female guest. It's his house.
Yeah, right. The pot calling the kettle black, basically.
No,
Hypocrisy.
Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis, if you rent a room to a single guy, did you have a lease agreement with him?
Yeah, I did have a lease
Did
agreement.
you have a written lease?
Yes, I did.
Did your written lease provide that you were going to live there?
Yes, it did.
Just you?
Yes.
Well, you bring in another person, that's in violation of the lease.
That's not in violation of the lease because there was nothing in the lease that said I couldn't have guests. He actually said I could have
guest
guests.
is one thing. A guest is somebody that doesn't come with an overnight bag regularly.
he said
One
I could
day,
have an overnight
2
guest.
days, 3 days, 4 days. That's more than an occasional guest. That's somebody that comes and goes even when you're not there. Because according to you, you contacted Tawana while you were at work and she was at the house.
That's false.
Well, I thought you contacted her and then you said she left. She took a few things with her, probably just an overnight bag.
No, she was not going there when I wasn't there. That's false.
Are you saying that she was not in your room when you were not home?
When I was not there, no,
Yeah.
she would not be there.
That true?
No, he had made a key to her. She would come as she pleased.
Did you make
That's
her a key?
false. That's absolutely false.
Did you make her a key?
No, that's
is my
absolutely
question.
false. No, I
Do you
didn't make her
still
a key.
speak to Tawana?
No, I don't. We kind of fell out of touch.
If I were to call Tawana and ask her whether or not you made a key, would she tell me she did or she didn't?
She would say that I didn't.
Didn't.
Yeah.
Great. phone number?
I have it in my stamp.
I don't have her number saved here.
I'm not exactly buying the fact that Tawana did not have access to the home even when you weren't there, even if it was just a half hour before you came home from work, sir. You work until 9 o'clock every night?
Your Honor, I had this to say about the whole key situation. I gave her my key when I was locked up in jail from his false police report. I gave her my property, and she had my key then to help me get the stuff out of his home. But I never went and made her a copy of a key anywhere.
Did she ever use your key other than when you were incarcerated?
No.
He says she did.
Ryan Davis claims his former landlord, Alex Zadie, owes for bail money after Alex had him falsely arrested.
Okay, so now you're having this discussion. He's in the kitchen. You come home from work at 9 o'clock, and you went into the kitchen to look for him.
Correct.
And when you found him, tell me what happened.
We had just a brief, maybe 2-minute conversation or argument, discourse about what the things that he said. And I said, you know, don't be disrespectful to my woman and me. And I said, you know, you're a bitch. I called him a bitch. I did. But I never threatened him,
No, you
harassed
said
him.
you're what?
That's it.
What does that mean? That's a half a sentence.
Well,
He was calling him a bitch. You are a bitch.
Oh, you were calling him?
yes, because he says these
guy.
things over the phone.
He's a guy. Why don't
Yeah.
you call him a...
Because he says all these things over the phone, and he gets real loud,
gender
and,
neutral
and
at
he's
this
a
point.
This is
completely different
gender-
person when he's on the
Just a
phone. But
second.
then when I'm in
you
his...
think that's gender neutral?
Yeah, at this point.
Well, there you go. That's why I have you here. Okie dokie.
So-
Okay, so you were going, don't call me that. You called him a name, and then things got heated, and then what happened?
No, things didn't get heated. After that, he said, oh, that's how you want to do it? And then I said, if you want to get me evicted, you have to go through it the right way and do it legally and give me a 30-day eviction.
No, he must have said to you, I want you out of here because you called me a name.
It
If you
wasn't
said, if
about-
you want me evicted, then he had to have said something about getting you out.
He didn't really see, I don't remember him mentioning anything about me getting out. I just remember the fact that he called the police to get
No,
me
before
out.
he called the police. You're still in the kitchen. Do you ever leave the kitchen?
Yes, I did.
Where did you go?
I went to my room.
Okay. Before you went to your room, did you hear him on the phone with the police?
I did.
Before you went
Yes.
to your room?
Yes.
Okay. And?
And I didn't sit there and listen to his phone call. I took a video and I started recording because I didn't want to be made out to look like the guilty party. And I had it pretty much live streaming the whole time, which was an Instagram video.
Can
to
I see it?
prove, No, I don't have the video. The police
Well, then it
deleted
doesn't
it.
exist. If you
Yeah.
don't have it, it doesn't
Yeah,
exist for
understand.
my purposes.
Understood.
But you had it then.
Yeah, I did have it then.
You did. And the police came,
Yes.
and I assume if the police came, you showed them the video.
Yeah, I was showing it to him.
And despite showing them the video, they took you into custody.
Despite showing them the video, they
Just a
took me
second.
into custody.
Despite looking at the video,
Yes.
which I haven't seen.
They didn't look at the video. They refused to look at it.
well, let's go one step further. You see, Mr. Davis, this is why you bring actions right away, so that not only everybody's memory is fresh, but if I wanted to call a police officer
where you're
who
coming.
responded or whatever, that's why you bring an action right away.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So now you're taken into custody and you have a video that is totally, according to you, exculpatory.
I don't know the definition.
Exculpatory means it says that you were not guilty of anything.
Okay.
And you appear in court?
No, I didn't appear in court.
Never?
No, never.
Well, what happened to the case?
The case was thrown out. It was a DA reject because there was insufficient evidence that I did anything to him.
And you never showed the district attorney your video?
I didn't get a chance to because the video was deleted by the police.
The police department deleted your video?
Yeah, they did.
You are a terrible victim of circumstance, Mr. Davis. Did you ever make a complaint that the police department deleted your video that would be exculpatory?
No.
Why not? I would if I had.
Maybe
Now,
ignorance of the law, I guess.
what?
I said maybe ignorance of the law, I guess. Not knowing. When you know better, you do better.
No, Mr. Davis. Actually, I mean, sometimes you really don't know what the law is, but you were smart enough, you said, to tell me, because you knew I would say, why wait 2 years, that you didn't want this action to conflict with another action. Well,
Yeah.
that's a two-process thinker.
I've had something like that happen to me before where I had a criminal case and a civil case pending, and the dates were kind of intertwining and messing, and they're about to get in the way of my civil case. So I didn't want to make that same mistake with this case, Your Honor.
Okay, so you want to tell me what your version of the events were of November 9th of 2020?
Yes, Your Honor. I had gone to Mexico for a business trip meeting, and I had my friend who was visiting from Mexico staying at my place, and at that same time, I had another roommate who was renting the room next to Ryan Davis's room. His name was Dave. I received a call from Dave on November 9th that is constant sex going on.
Okay, so you received a call from the other person living in your house who you were renting a room to.
Right.
Okay, and then, don't tell me what he said. Can't tell me, that's all hearsay.
Well, I've heard prior to all the sexual acts taking place.
Listen to me. You personally,
Yes.
when you were home.
Yes.
Okay, so you heard what was going on behind his closed doors.
Right, day and night.
Okay.
Like there's
fine.
no tomorrow.
Okay, well, maybe, maybe jealous. Okay.
Disrespectful.
Okay, so he was becoming an annoying tenant
Yes.
for whatever reason.
Yes.
Keep going. You sent him a text. He called you. You had heated words. He comes home from work. You're in the kitchen.
Yes.
He comes into the kitchen and
I told him, Ryan, we've gone through this many times before. I've addressed this to you about your girlfriend coming here all the time, day and night, and now she's here every day. What he was doing was sneaking her in late at night, and that's how I will know that she snuck back in. There were times I came home from work, and she was already there when Ryan wasn't even there, so she had the key, obviously.
okay, now let's go to November 9th.
November 9, I confronted him. I said that this is just way too much. My other roommate wants to leave. He cannot take it anymore.
And?
And then he said, well, she isn't here. And my...
Okay, he said she wasn't here. Keep going.
Then he cussed at my friend who was visiting from Mexico. He said, get this bitch out of here.
That's not true.
Don't interrupt.
And,
okay.
I said, you can't talk to her.
Okay, let's go.
Right. Then he went into his room. He came back. He brought a samurai sword with him, and he flashed it at me. I'm going to slice you in half like a butter.
Okay.
What?
And I'm like shocked at that time, don't know what's going on with him because he's just changing character. I'm scared of my life. I'm scared of my guests.
Okay, and then what happened? So
And
he
then
came out
I said, you need to get out of here. You need to move.
And then he went back. He didn't do anything with the sword.
No, he didn't. He went back in the room with the sword. He put it there. But then he came back, and he pushed me against the wall. As he was pushing me, I tried to block him by putting my two hands up. And when he pushed me, it bruised. I had a cut on my wrist, but there was a bruise.
Okay.
And
now,
I
at what
said, I'm going to
point?
call the police.
Okay, so you called the police when he came back out of his room the second time, this time without the sword. And the police took a report.
Yes.
Do you have that report?
Yes,
I'd
right
like
here,
to
you-
see it. Mr. Davis, do you have a copy of the police report or
I
any
have it right
follow-up
here, too,
report?
Your
I'd like to see that too. Mr. Davis, where did you get the sword from?
My girlfriend at the time,
Which girlfriend?
Twana.
When did she get it for you?
She got it during my birthday, for a birthday gift.
When's your birthday?
October 31st.
And this happened on November 9th.
Correct.
Between October 31st and November 9th, did you have occasion to show Mrs. Zaidi prior to November 9th? So
Never,
between
Your Honor.
31st and the 8th, did you show Mr. Zaidi the sword?
Never, Your Honor.
Her landlord, Alex Zaidi, of causing a false arrest. Alex says Ryan threatened him with a samurai sword.
Okay. October 31st to November 8th, did you ever show Mr. Zaidi the sword?
No, Your Honor.
No.
No.
Okay. So unless he went into your room,
He went into my room.
unless he went into your room prior to November 9th, there was no way he would have seen the sword.
Correct.
Okay. And when did you go away on this business trip, sir?
On the 9th.
That day.
Yes, in the morning.
And on what day did you first see this sword that was in his room?
On the evening of November 9th.
That was the first time, not his
First,
birthday, not second day, not third day. Okay. Does his room have a lock on it, by the way?
From inside.
From inside. Mr. Davis, were you on probation at the time of this incident for
Yes.
something in Riverside
Yes,
that
Your
involved a fraud?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. And that wasn't a fraud dating back to 2004.
It was dating back
No, it wasn't an incident.
for 2000 and, I believe, 15.
Okay. So when you told me before, and I'm not even going to have Whitney read it back, you said the last time you had this speeding little problem, and evading police, I said, well, before that? And you said, yeah, I did before that in 2004.
Correct.
But that was a lie.
Which was like...
Just a second, that was a lie. You had another case involving a fraud in 2015 on which you were on probation, which means that you were either found guilty or took a plea.
Correct.
Okay. And when the police officer, Mr. Davis, took down your statement, you said that while you acknowledged that you had a samurai sword in your room, you said you had never shown it to Mr. Zaidi.
Correct, Your Honor.
You had never showed it at any time. Well, then how would he know that you had a samurai sword, sir, in your room when he called the police?
Because he was going in my room, I believe, when I was not there, going through my stuff.
Okay.
That's the only other way I can know that he was...
Okay. I'm not finished reading this, yes.
Okay, that's fine.
That's like the 2015 case. You just remembered. Do you have any other police reports that you'd like me to see, Mr. Davis?
Not a police report, but I have the bail bonds receipt that I paid. And
I'm not interested in your bail bonds receipt.
I have the DA reject.
I'd like to see it.
Yeah, they rejected the case right here.
Yeah,
They refused
I'd like
to file
to see
charges. Your Honor, there's a conflicting story where he said he was left on the 9th because he was there 2 weeks with his guest prior to that. So how could he leave on the 9th if his guest was there 2 weeks prior to the 9th?
I asked him when he left for his... Sir, you didn't understand the reason for my question. I wanted to know if he had been gone from October 31st, which was your birthday, to the 8th. That's why I asked him when he left on his business trip.
Correct.
And he said he didn't leave until the date of this incident. You want to say he left before?
He did.
That would
leave
be
before.
interesting.
He
What?
did leave before.
He did.
Yes.
On what date did he leave?
I don't know the exact date, but I
A
know
week before, 5 days before?
it was maybe about a few weeks before.
November 9th?
Yeah, a few weeks.
Then he
before
wouldn't have
that.
been able to see your sword because he wouldn't have been coming in and out of your
He was
room.
there from the 9th.
Well,
from
this
the
happened on the
31st
9th.
From the 31st to the 9th, he was there.
Well, you just told me he left 2 weeks before.
I'm saying he was gone before that date, and then on the 31st, between the 31st and the 9th, he was there at the place.
Okay, well, that's what he says. He said he was there, and the business was only 1 day. He left on the 9th, and he came home on the 9th. You said, no, he was there for 2 weeks before. Well, if he was there for 2 weeks before and you didn't get the sword until 31st of October, he could not have seen it by going in and out of your room. So you have to sort of get your story straight, sir. So he was there or not there, according to you?
He was there.
He was there?
Correct.
Okay, good.
His guest was also there for about 2 weeks.
Just who cares about his guest? He owns the house.
Okay.
Okay, it was a misdemeanor case and they declined to prosecute it.
Correct.
So what? Your case is dismissed, Mr. Davis, for several reasons. It's dismissed because it was brought in an untimely fashion. It was brought 2 years after the fact for no valid reason.
Your Honor,
it's
it was
dismissed for that.
pandemic.
It's dismissed for a second reason, because I find some of your testimony, sir, incredible. And one of the reasons I say that is because you were not forthcoming with a legitimate answer to me with regard to your prior history, which isn't always just positive. But if you had something pending for evading the police, and you had something pending for evading the police while you were on probation for a crime for which you were convicted, either after trial or after hearing, do you understand? You would remember that. Are you still on probation?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, your case is dismissed. We're done.
This
You're
court is
making a big
adjourned.
mistake, Your Honor. You have guests over 2 to 3 weeks at a time, but I have a girl over for 3 days, and now it's World War III.
He was only allowed to stay there by himself, not with his girlfriend.
I never went at him with a samurai sword.
It was pretty scary.
He basically just used the system against me because I'm a person of color and I have a record already, so I fit the bill.
He had a criminal record. When I rented the room to him, he was asking for a second chance.
It's easier for them to lock somebody up who's already been to jail.
Nobody was renting him the room, and he was saying he's trying to start a new life.
I'm 6'1", 200 pounds. I wouldn't even need a weapon if I was going to assault him, but I never did.
Thank you, Judge Judy.
You know, there are so many lessons from this case, I think, Sarah. One of them is there's a reason that the law tells you to bring an action in a timely fashion, right?
Many reasons.
Many reasons. One is because it's not like an afterthought, you know, and there are reasons for delays. You were in a hospital, you go into the armed forces, but here there was no really legitimate reason for him not bringing this kind of case in a timely fashion. And the other one that's always a good thing to me, what did you think about his credibility?
Yeah, I think it's hard for a fact finder to believe the totality of your testimony if one of the first questions, just about a simple question of your prior history with law enforcement, if you have any pending charges. I think that's a very simple question. If you aren't fully truthful with the fact finder on that question, it makes it really difficult, and the rest of your testimony is now suspect.
That's true. And it's a good lesson, because sometimes you think, well, it's sort of an innocuous question. I don't have to get it. But if I, sitting as a juror in a case, see that somebody is fabricating a fact, and they want you to believe them, you know, they're saying it is that I want you to believe my last law enforcement issue was in 2004.
A long time ago, no run-ins.
Right, nothing else, and a speeding. Ticket. And
it sets the tone in a negative way, and it makes it difficult for the fact finder to find in your favor.
I'm glad. So you agreed with that.
Case number 2061, Laura versus Burke. All parties, please step forward.
Michael Laura is suing car seller Donald Burke for a vintage car title.
Mr. Lara.
Yes, Your Honor.
You had a truck.
Yes.
And that truck was a 2007.
Yes, Your Honor.
Nissan Frontier.
Correct.
When did you purchase it?
I purchased it in 2019.
From whom?
From a private owner. I don't have his name, but I purchased it over on an auto app.
So you found it online?
Yeah.
So it's still online. How much did you pay for the car in 2019?
In 2010, I paid, $10,000.
I don't believe that. Let's try it one more time, Mr. Lara. Exactly how much did you pay for the car in 2019?
$10,000, Your Honor.
Show me a bill of sale.
I don't have that bill of sale from back then.
Okay.
I have only the title that I had.
Okay. Let's assume for the moment that that's almost accurate, because the truck is now worth
somewhere between $8,000 and $9,000.
So that would be a depreciation. So now it's worth $8,000.
Okay.
You decided to sell it.
Correct. To trade it.
And you put an ad online to sell it?
Yes, I did.
You, Mr. Burke, had a 1947 classic Chrysler sedan.
Yes.
When did you get that?
Beginning of the year.
Beginning of
22.
And where did you get it from?
A car dealer had it for sale.
Car dealer where?
Montclair, California.
You remember the name of the car dealer?
No, ma'am, I don't.
But it was the beginning of 2022.
Yes.
And was it an ad online?
No, I was driving by and saw the car. I kind of liked the way it looked.
How much did you pay for it?
$12,500.
Do you have a bill of sale?
No.
That was just this year. Why don't you have a bill of sale?
I have the registration and title.
I don't need the registration and title. I need a bill of sale.
I don't have one.
Difference when you buy it from a private party. But if you buy, do you have, it was the beginning of January. How did you pay for the car?
Cash.
Cash. Do you have a withdrawal from your bank of $12,500 to show me?
No, I don't.
Well, how do you expect me to decide this case? You have a claim, you have a counterclaim. Nobody has any proof. How do you expect me to decide? Each of you is suing the other for $10,000 without any proof of anything. How do you expect me to decide that?
Correct, Your Honor.
You got it?
Yeah, I got it.
You got it?
Yes.
Michael Laura claims car seller Donald Burke owes him the title to a vintage car. Donald is countersuing, claiming Michael broke their agreement.
Okay. Do you have a car now?
Yes, I have a 2001 GMC truck.
No. You have his car?
Oh, yes, I have his car, yes.
You
Your Honor.
have his car?
Yes.
And you have his truck?
Yes.
What do you want me to do?
I wasn't the one that started this.
Okay, Your Honor.
He doesn't have the title.
Well, he never produced the money that he was supposed to produce.
I have his title to his vehicle. He signed it over to me, and he gave me the keys as well.
Okay. I didn't ask you anything. Well, you have the title, you have the keys, you have the truck.
Correct, Your Honor.
My question to you is, you have the title to his car. He paid, let's assume he's correct, that he paid $12,500 for the car in the beginning of 2022. That car, which is a classic car, is now for sale, because I looked it up, I don't remember the numbers, for?
Between $18,000 and $60,000 on the high end of what I've seen.
Okay, so it's worth considerably more than what you paid for it. Roughly $10,000 more than what you paid for it, right?
That's correct, Your Honor.
You don't know him, do you?
No, I don't, Your Honor.
There would be no reason why he would make you a gift. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you have the title for that car.
Yes.
Because you say, according to you, that he didn't fulfill his promise,
Correct.
his contract, to pay you an additional amount for it. Now, you say he agreed to pay you an additional $10,000 for it.
Yes.
I don't know that because none of it's in writing. Anybody have any proof of that?
No, Your Honor.
No. Yeah, good. And you want your car back.
I would just,
You want your car. Well, I'm not giving you $10,000. I want you to just understand that.
Yes.
Because you have no proof here of anything that satisfies me. So I'm asking you, you want nothing or do you want your car back?
What's your $10,000?
I'd rather have my car back than nothing.
You'd rather than have your car back. And
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
you have the car.
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
And you put in some money in the truck.
Yes, the catalytic converters were bad.
How much money did you put into the truck?
$2,165.
Okay. And you have proof of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where?
Can I help him?
I don't need you for anything.
Here. And it still needs another $2,165 for the other side.
And you have the title to the car, is that right?
Yes.
Now, do you want nothing or do you want your truck back, even though he added money to it? Do you want nothing or do you want your truck back? That's my question to you. You want nothing or you want your truck back?
My truck.
Great. And you want your car back?
Yes.
Perfect. And both of you have agreed because there was clearly some misunderstanding between the two of you, giving you the total benefit of the doubt, sir, that there was additional money to be forthcoming. I'm speaking. Understand this. Neither one of you are leaving here with a penny. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Do you understand?
No, I don't. I put
Very,
$2,000
very,
into
very,
his truck.
very easy. Very easy, sir. You're getting back a car that you say is worth, she says, is worth $20,000.
Your Honor. Sorry.
It's not going to work for you. You're going to each end up with your own cars back. Since there was clearly a misunderstanding about the nature of the contract, what I'm telling you is I'm going to prepare an order that within 5 days of today's date, you are to exchange cars. Figure out where you want to do that, a mutually convenient place. That's the order of the court. Goodbye.
Court is adjourned.
Not even the $2,000 I put into his truck?
Goodbye.
This way, sir.
You can sell your 47 for a lot more money.
I didn't bring us here. He brought us here.
I like this car. He liked my truck. When I got there, we did the exchange. He signed the titles. He gave me the keys to the vehicle.
Well, he gave me a truck that needed a $4,000 repair, and he didn't mention that when he gave it to me. And my car, was nothing wrong with my car.
I have always maintained my vehicle. I have records of it and everything.
I'll just keep my car.
No more business deals.
So I really agree with you that there was no meeting of the minds because the defendant thought that the plaintiff was going to pay him an additional $10,000 for the 1947 Chrysler, and no one had any proof of anything. So it's really hard to come to court with zero proof on either side. So I think your ruling to leave them how they were found prior to any what they believed to be a contract was the right decision because...
I'm so glad you felt that way.
Well, I mean, I was thinking to myself, looking over the papers, what's she going to do with this one? You know, it's hard because with no proof and a he said, she said verbal agreements with tangible items like vehicles, I probably would have done the same thing. I don't know what to make of this. I have nothing to look at, nothing to rely on.
And it was so interesting because they both bought these cars recently.
Mm-hmm.
Neither one of them had bill of sale, said he paid cash, $12,500, showed me where you withdrew the money from a bank. Mm-hmm. The whole thing was suspicious to me. So to me, the easiest thing to do was leave the parties
as you found them.
As you found them. They had no contract because there was no meeting of the minds as to what the particulars were of the contract. You get your truck back in a little better shape. You get your car back probably in a little better shape and
be on your way.
Her sister, Brandy Maida, for property damage, harassment, and lost work.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, everyone, please. Hello, Ken.
Case number 2006, Nelson versus Mata.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Nelson, this is your sister.
Yes.
How old are you?
I am 42, 43, almost 44.
Oh, so Are you the only two sisters?
We have some half-sisters, but yes.
But you're the only two full biological sisters. Now, there came a time, Ms. Mehta, that you moved into your sister's home.
Yes.
Is this a home that you own?
Yes, we built it.
In what year did you move into her home?
That would have been 2018.
Who else lives in the house from your family?
My disabled mother, my husband, and my child.
So your mother lives there?
Yes, I take care of my mom.
Tell me why you moved into your sister's basement, Ms. Mehta.
In 2015, my oldest son was in a tornado and suffered a severe brain injury. So when my sister Tiffany and her husband were looking for new houses, they offered to build an apartment in their basement so that we could live with them and get out of our mobile home. So when they built this house, it was built with the intention of us living in the basement.
Is that correct?
Yes, but for a year, because I do take care of my disabled mother, and the intention was for her to be in the basement eventually so that she doesn't have to use stairs.
Was the original agreement with your sister that it would not be a permanent move, but one that would last for about a year?
It was agreed that it was not a permanent. There was not a date set, though.
Okay, but it was agreed it was not a permanent, and you
Correct.
did not have a written lease?
Yes, we did.
We do have a lease.
You did? I'd like to see it.
We had a month-to-month lease that I have as well. This is the current lease that subsides the other lease.
Okay, initially a month-to-month lease, and what month and year did you have her sign?
I have it right here. It's dated July 14th, 2018.
So this is a 6-month lease that ended January 31st.
Correct.
The rent was $800 a month.
Yes.
So this last lease was for your sister, her husband, and 2 children.
Correct.
I only ask that question because if my reading of your complaint was correct, you say that she moved her husband in without your consent.
So when we first agreed to let her move in 2018, she was divorcing, and the agreement was that her and her 2 sons could move into the home. He had nowhere to go, and she wanted him to move in. So because
In what year was that?
That was still 2018.
So that was still 2018?
Yeah, so we let,
All right, so
we
you,
let him live there.
And since then, you've signed different leases with her, with him on the property?
Correct.
Okay, so then you acquiesced to it. When you were in the apartment, did you have pets?
I did,
How many pets did you have?
4 dogs. But then subsequently, some had passed away, so at the end, we only had 2 dogs.
Okay, well, at the signing of this lease, you had 6 pets, consisting of cats, dogs, and no other pets being allowed.
Correct.
And you agreed, regardless of ownership of the pets, agreed to restore the property to its original condition at your expense when you leave. Okay, good, because that's also part of what this is about, actually, most of what this is about.
Your Honor, they had 3 pets upon move out. They had just gotten a puppy, so they did have 3 pets and 2 cats upon move out.
Doesn't matter. Anybody who has 6 pets, after 3 years, the carpet needs to be replaced.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, your sister began to move out when? In what month?
She moved out on the 1st of February, 2022.
Pursuant to your agreement?
Correct.
And it is your claim that she left the premises in condition that required you to spend close to $10,000 to put it back into shape?
$6,500.
Okay.
For the basement damages.
I'd like to see photographs of what it looked like because we know it was brand new when you moved in because the house was just
Those
built.
Are all...
So we know that it's new.
I also have photographs that I took the day we moved out.
Okay. I'm going to give you these and then I'm going to look at yours.
Okay.
Okay, so there's no question you have to replace the carpeting.
Right.
You understand that. Did
Yes.
you replace the carpeting?
No, I had not had any contact from her.
Do you have the bill for the carpeting?
I replaced 1 room already, and I have that, and then I have the estimate to replace the other carpet.
Okay, I'll take a look at that. And that's the main thing that I see in the apartment that has to be done from these photographs. Okay, did you leave a lot of food in the refrigerator and all kinds of stuff in the refrigerator?
No, so what happened was the refrigerator...
Just the answer is either yes or no. Did you leave a whole lot of stuff in the refrigerator?
No.
Anything in the freezer?
No, there was no fridge or freezer.
And cabinets, did you leave anything in the I'm just looking because there's a picture here of a whole bunch of food.
Right. I hadn't finished moving out.
My question,
But yes, there was
my
stuff there.
question is, you were supposed to be out by February 1st. On February 1st, was there food in the house?
Yes.
Okay, and it should have been moved, whether you moved out yet or not. You were supposed to be out by February 1st. Okay, I'd like to see those. So you replaced the carpet in what room?
One of the bedrooms, so my mom could move down there so she could not use stairs.
Okay. Sarah, add these 2 figures and have them for me, please. And I don't know what this is a photograph of.
So the bags that were left in the home, there was ice cream that was left in those bags, and it had leaked on my flooring, and we moved it outside, and that is the rotted food from the bags.
Okay, do you know how that happened?
I don't. I haven't seen that.
Okay. May I see photographs, please, that you took on the day you moved out?
Yes.
I have that total, Judge. $4,129.
$4,121?
29.
29.
And 21 cents.
Thank you. Is this after the carpet was taken out?
Yes.
Kevin, can I please see the photographs that you took? Actually, they're pretty much the same. Not terrible. A lot of it is ordinary wear and tear, except for the carpet. So that's $4,129. The only other thing that I'm questioning is that I saw these rocks, and I want somebody to explain these rocks to me.
So because of the water level, if you go out the downstairs patio, there's rocks there to prevent the yard from sliding.
Getting wet.
So some of the rocks were moved. They're supposed to all go in a line, and they go down and over. So we have to pay a landscaper to come out and basically redo that.
Well, how did that happen? Do you know?
They're pretty heavy rocks, so.
I don't know. Do you know?
don't know.
Did you move the rocks?
No, you would need like a skid loader to move those rocks. There's no physical way to move those.
Where do you live?
With one person.
I live in far west Utah, farm country.
Looks like there's water comes down through here.
Yes, we live across the street from a pond as well.
Well, you don't know how that happens. Now, you have, in addition to your claim, which is for damage, you feel it's necessary to go into these allegations of harassment by your sister?
I honestly just want to be done with her and not get threatening text messages and stuff on social media.
No chance of a reconciliation. You
Not
lived
on my
together
end.
for a while.
I've blocked her from
For a long time.
Yeah.
Miss Mehta, your sister was there at a time when you needed her.
Yes.
You think that there's any potential for the two of you to sort of restore some kind of working relationship? Are you the only two?
No. This
No.
is the funeral of our
All
relationship.
right, not my job. That's a job for another professional. Okay, you have a counterclaim.
Yes.
And your counterclaim, just as she's not going into harassment, I'm not going into anything that involves the harassment. It is your claim that you left certain furniture behind. Well, why wasn't your furniture out on the 1st? Your lease expired at the end of the month in January.
It did. And I did let them know that I was not done.
Well, that's not a reason. That's not a reason to break your contract. Only two people can break a contract, Ms. Mehta. The two people are the same two people that signed it. You signed a contract that said you would be out on a certain date. You weren't out on a certain date. The fact that you notified her that you're changing the terms of the contract unless she agreed to it, then you should have had your stuff out by the 31st. Why didn't you?
Because she had made it very difficult during my moving process. There was a lot of, like I said, harassment and stuff that happened during that moving process. She called the police on the people that were helping me. She made it very difficult to get it done. There was no way that I could get it done on that day.
Let's get back to call the police.
And later today, Tiffany Nelson claims her sister, Brandy Mehta, owes for property damage after living in her basement. Brandy is countersuing for the return of her belongings.
Who did you have moving you?
I had my best friend, Brittany, was helping me.
Does Brittany and your sister have any negative history?
They do.
Okay. Well, if they have any negative history, why would you have her come into the house?
Because she doesn't have any access to Tiffany at that point. There was no reason for them to talk. They wouldn't be even associating.
You know, if I knew that there were issues between my landlord and a particular person, especially if my landlord was my sister who let me move into her house, just from a question of using my brain, I wouldn't bring somebody that had been on the outs with them. If they didn't like them, that's one thing. You know, I'm really not crazy about your friend Brittany. That's one thing. But if you knew that there was an active, aggressive feeling against one or the other, should have had somebody else move. So why didn't you get your stuff out?
Well, so I didn't think that it was as serious as that. They are related.
If they're related and don't like each other, or the plaintiff doesn't like her, then that's even worse. Go ahead.
Yeah, so she was my only help. I didn't have anybody to help me at that time.
Then start doing it sooner. Go ahead.
Yeah, that was the
Ms.
only
Mehta,
reason.
Ms. Mehta, where was your husband?
He was working. We were working during this whole time.
Well, that's okay. I've moved and worked. I used to move every time I needed a paint job. I would pack up and move, and I constantly worked. I've worked for 58 years. So that's not a reason. You pack in the evening. You go down after work, you get newspaper from the grocery store, and you get old cartons, and you wrap up the dishes and the cartons, and you manage to get out when you're supposed to get out. And she's not the only one who can help you. Maybe your husband has friends. If he doesn't have friends, I don't know why not. In any event, that was not a smart thing for you to bring your witness. Furniture. What furniture did you leave?
I left patio set on the patio. It was all outside furniture.
Patio set.
Your Honor.
Just a second.
A lawnmower.
Okay.
Outside bench that had storage and stuff.
Yeah.
A fire pit and lawn chairs.
Okay. And when did you buy the lawn chairs?
It would have been 2018.
Okay. And how much did you pay for each one?
They were $245 for the chaise lounges and $159 for the pool dining chairs.
Okay. Are those chairs at your home?
Yes.
May I see them?
Yes. There's 4 lawn chairs. There was never the long chair.
Let me see what's in the home.
I also had a cooler.
Just a second. Don't bother me about a cooler. Are the lawn chairs still there?
Yes.
Great. You can go get them.
Okay.
With a marshal, not with her. What about the fire pit?
Still there.
You can pick up the fire pit. What about the lawnmower?
Still there.
Patio set.
Still there.
They have painted that purple.
Painted back. Where are you living now?
I have a house.
Who are you living there with?
With my husband and my sister-in-law.
She's living with you? Mm-hmm. She's paying, it's not an answer, yes.
Yes.
She's paying you rent?
No.
Why not?
My husband's mother, their mother passed away, and she needed to be closer to family, so she's just living with us as family.
Okay. You're going to get all the property back that you say you left there. And you can do that within 5 days on notice to the plaintiff with a marshal. Just give him a copy of the order that will give you inside.
Okay.
With regard to the renovation of the house, she has to put the house in reasonable condition. Most of these other pictures demonstrate some wear and tear that you would have to do. Painting and plastering after 3.5 years, but the carpeting had to be replaced, $4,129. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much. We're finished.
This court is adjourned.
I'm happy with her decision. I just wanted to fix my basement and move on with my life.
I mean, it is what it is. There's nothing to do. You know, I think we were both at fault.
Go back home, fix my house, and honestly have nothing to do with her again.
If she had come and talked to me like a normal person, we could have figured this out without this.
No, I'm completely done.
I would like to not be inappropriate, but she's just not a...
I think that the two sisters had the best of intentions. Didn't you get that feeling?
I did. From moving in and knowing you have a designated place at a time of need, that she was going to design the basement for you to live in, although not permanently, I thought it was going to go in a good direction.
And I'm sure that the plaintiff's mother, who lives with her, is sad that she doesn't get to see her other daughter probably as frequently as she would like, because they lived together in the same home, evidently, for a very long time.
Yeah.
Very bad. There's always collateral damage when people don't get along.
True.
All parties, please step forward.
Amari Garcia is suing fellow motorist April Tarrant for damages from a motorcycle accident.
This is a case that's about an automobile-motorcycle collision. Each one of you claims that the other is responsible for the collision. Ms. Garcia, you were riding the motorcycle?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were in your car?
Yes.
Okay. And this happened on what date?
March 21st, 2022, around 3 p.m.
In what state?
California.
In the state of California, are you required to have insurance on a motorcycle?
Yes, Your Honor.
Just liability?
Liability if it's paid for in full, correct. Yes, Your Honor.
And were you insured on that date?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you were driving a car?
Yes.
And was your car insured on March 21st, 2022?
Not at the time.
So the answer is no?
No.
Did you have a valid driver's license on March 21st, 2022?
Yes.
From what state?
California.
What kind of car were you driving?
A 2011 Nissan Sentra.
Was it a new car for you, or did you have it for a while?
It's a new car. I purchased it 3 weeks prior to the incident.
And if you bought it 3 weeks before, how come you didn't have liability insurance?
I was looking for insurance, and plus, at the time, I hadn't received my paperwork. It was still in the other person's name at the used car dealership that I bought it from. Your Honor.
You know you're not supposed to be driving a car, Miss Taryn, without insurance.
Yes, I'm aware of that.
Okay. You wanted to say something?
Yes, Your Honor, thank you. I have proof that April Taryn purchased her vehicle February 8th, 2022. She drove uninsured for 41 days, and it was not from a lot. It was from someone off the street. I have the proof for that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes. Oh, thank you. For $2,050.
Well, this car that you registered, the selling price was $2,050, according to this.
No, it wasn't. And
well, I'm going to show you vehicle and transfer law. This is 2011 Sentra, and it was signed, but it's LLC. That's his company.
Okay.
So it wasn't off the street, but it said the selling price was $2,000. That's what this says.
I don't have my paperwork in my car.
I want to show this to her. I just want to get some basic facts first, and then I'm going to go to the incident.
But that's to, and...
No, the person, the seller.
And you know, I have my paperwork in my car.
Well, but you understand that that's
I understand
what
you said because it's right there.
That's...
Yes.
Okay, we have a diagram. This happened on March 21st, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. You had no insurance, and you were traveling in the bike lane.
No, that is not true. I shared the lane of the car in the right. I would never go into a bike lane. That is disrespectful to the road and riders.
Just a second. Are you allowed to share a lane with a car and a motorcycle?
That is your right, yes.
I know Foothill. Is that where you were?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at a certain time during the day, Foothill becomes very trafficked.
Yes.
And the cars sometimes get stopped because there's a light, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go over to there, Miss Garcia, and show me, please, where you were positioned before you say that you were traveling in the same lane as a car.
Your Honor, I was directly behind this car.
Okay.
Directly behind.
You were directly behind that car.
Yes.
And that car was stopped.
They were slowing to a stop.
No, they were stopped because they had to have been stopped because that's why you went around him.
They were slowing to a stop. By the time I got around here, they were stopped. I didn't want to veer into here. I was slowing down. I was around 25 miles per hour. This lane at the time was too close. So I shared this lane on this side.
Miss Garcia, I got it, Miss Garcia. You want me to appreciate the fact that you wanted to get around the stopped car and you wanted to continue to go straight, correct? You weren't turning. You wanted to go straight.
I was going straight, correct.
And so you want me to picture in this tiny mind of mine that instead of going into a perfectly clear bike lane, you inched your way at 25 miles an hour in the same lane as a stopped car.
Yes.
But
this diagram...
You know, I find that hard to believe, Miss Garcia.
Your
I
Honor,
really find that hard to believe. You may be in the right with regard to this, but I find it hard to believe.
The roads are very wide. I have the actual police photo document of that.
I'd like to see it.
Yes, Your Honor. Right here.
And I'd like to see the police report as well. Is there a police report?
It's attached to this.
Fine. Because as you were traveling straight, the defendant was making a left turn. She was making a left turn because the two cars there were stopped, and those were the only two traffic lanes there. Now, I don't know whether she could see whether it's a motorcycle or a bicycle traveling in the bike lane, but what happened was she was making a left turn. According to this, you went into her passenger side. Is that correct?
Mari Garcia is accusing fellow motorist April Taryn of damaging her motorcycle. April claims Amari was illegally driving in the bike lane.
Who was in the car with you, Miss Taryn?
My son and his girlfriend.
One of them had an injury.
Yes. My son's girlfriend, she was in the driver's passenger side, and while I was turning into the lane, I just felt a crash and saw glass going into my car, and then she was cut.
Okay, and you had an injury to your knee?
Yes, I have several injuries, and I have photos as well.
You understand, Miss Taryn, that the police interviewed witnesses. The witnesses were in the stopped cars.
Yes.
And at the end of all of their interviewing process, they determined that you were the cause of the collision. That's what it says.
And I don't...
It says that you caused the collision by violating Vehicle and Traffic Law 21-8001, failure to yield when making a left turn. I determined the cause based upon the parties involved and the physical evidence. That's what the police determined. Okay, well, then that's an easy, based upon the police report, because each of you are going to tell two different stories about what happened that day. Police were there. They looked at the physical evidence. They looked at the injuries. They looked at the damage to the roadway. They interviewed independent witnesses, and that was their determination.
I understand, Judge, but the police report had some inconsistencies where, like, she was driving in the bicycle lane, which is against the law. And what I was doing, I was making a left turn, as you know. And these two front cars, which one of them was a witness.
Yes, that car paused to let you make a left turn.
Yes, both lanes. And I was
No, you said both lanes.
Both lanes paused.
Well, that's what you say.
Yes.
That's what you say. That's not what this says.
See, but they both did. And as I was
But I'm just telling you.
No, I know.
Yeah,
that's why
I'm just
said...
telling you. That's not what this is.
Exactly.
That's what you say. There was nothing that prevented those two cars from going.
Exactly.
There wasn't a traffic light. There wasn't a stoplight at that spot.
Yes.
And there was heavy traffic.
Yes.
So it's your responsibility to make sure if you're making a left turn that you have to yield to all oncoming traffic.
And
so the fact that you didn't see her is really not relevant. And as long as you understand that this police report supports Miss Garcia's claim that you caused this accident by making a left turn when you shouldn't have been making a left turn, that's what this says. And that, you know, at the end of the day, it's an accident. That's why it's not called an on purpose. It's called an accident. Neither one of you anticipated it. As far as I'm concerned, Ms. Garcia, you're entitled to be compensated, but I'm going to suggest this to you. If I'm driving a motorcycle, which I would never do, just for me, I think it's wacky. I think there are enough crazy people driving around that I like about 2,000 pounds of steel around me so that if somebody who is not paying attention and there's an accident, I like to be safe. My first car when I was 17, all my friends were getting these cute little cars, you know, that were convertibles, and my father bought me a 15-year-old blue and white Cadillac sedan. It was so embarrassing to drive around in that car. It was a boat. Oh, come on. Everybody else is getting these cute little Corvettes, even if they're used ones. And my father, who loved me a lot, said to me, sweetheart, if you get into the accident, I want you to come out unscathed. And this ensures that you got a shot if you get into an accident. And I feel better. So I'm just telling you, if you're going to drive a motorcycle, don't take shortcuts. I know this place on Foothill, and I know what happened here. You know, you wanted to go, there was no reason why you couldn't. That's why you drive a motorcycle, because you can get into tight places. But you look like an intelligent young woman.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Don't take chances. That was a chance. It could have been a lot worse. What was the damage to your motorcycle?
I have pictures. Would you like to see them, Your Honor?
I would.
I did look it up. Lane splitting motorcycles is legal in California, based on the California Highway Patrol.
Okay, no, I see the pictures. So where is the motorcycle now?
I no longer have it. The towing company, they sold it. They sold it for $70 they claim, and I got hit with collections afterwards. I have the bill for that if you'd like to see that.
How much did you pay for it?
$6,407.
Do you have the bill?
Yes.
I'd like to see it.
For my motorcycle, what I paid for, correct?
Yes, what you paid for it. What are you driving around in now?
A 1995 Chevy Baville.
Atta girl! Atta girl. Okay. I'm giving you the value of the motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Which is $6,407. I'm not splitting whose fault this was, actually, but I'm not awarding you any punitive damages for her. She had injuries in her car. You were slightly injured, but both of you seem fine now. I don't think that you were careful enough when you were going straight and around that car that was stopped. But the defendant didn't have insurance, and she was cited by the police for violation of a traffic law. So I'm giving you the cost of your motorcycle.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Judgment for the plaintiff.
This court is adjourned.
So I actually ended up, after the car had made impact with me, the bike went that way. I went up into the air.
It was really frightening.
I hit the ground. I hit on my elbow.
I've never experienced that before.
I was really scared. I thought, like, oh, this is it. My legs are out.
And like I said, I was being cautious, and
thankfully I wasn't.
That it ended up in that kind of situation.
Definitely more safely as far as better gear, and like she said, don't take a shortcut or anything of that sort.
So I looked up lane splitting, and in California, it's one of the few states that allows it for motorcyclists. It does say inexperienced riders shouldn't attempt it because, like we see, it's very easy to get hit or for someone not to see you if you're splitting between lanes, but it is legal. So she wasn't in the wrong by lane splitting, but I think it was a sticky situation. You're behind a car, someone's turning.
What does it say if you're injured?
It does say on the Highway Patrol website that you're splitting at your own risk. So any injuries that happen are at your own risk.
So they say if you are lane splitting, it's not illegal.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have injuries as a result of an accident, if you're lane splitting, you're responsible for your own injuries.
It doesn't say it in a legal term that I could really stick to, but it says it's risky. We're acknowledging that it's risky. You have to assume the risk of lane splitting if that's what you choose to do.
18-year-old Bella North and her mother, Angela North, are suing business owner Heather Olson for car damage.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2092, North versus Olson.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. North, this is your daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Why don't you have a seat? Because you actually weren't involved nor a witness to the incident. Are you the owner of the car?
No, ma'am.
Okay, why don't you have a seat? Tell me your first name.
Bella.
Bella. Bella, from what I gather from reading the papers, you and the defendant's daughter were good friends.
Yes, still are.
And have been friends for a very long time. So, not a very difficult case. You were going to visit Miss Olson's daughter, Lotus.
Yep.
And according to you, you've done that innumerable times in the past. You were also 17 at the time?
Yes.
You went to visit Lotus, I'm trying to find the date in your complaint, on April 16th of 2022.
Yes.
And when you got to the house, which you had done many, many times before, according to you, you parked behind the defendant's car.
Yes, I did.
Was the defendant in her car at the time you parked your car?
I did not see the car on when I pulled up behind it. I turned around for a moment to gather my things, to my backpack, my charger, everything. I then look up and I see the car is on. I never saw anyone. You never saw anyone
get in the car?
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Now, could you tell me what kind of car were you driving?
A 2001 Honda Accord.
So a very small car?
Yes, sedan.
And you were in a large car, Miss Olson? Your car is a large car.
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of car is it?
It's a Suburban.
Now, can you tell me why you parked behind her car? If you parked behind her car, you were blocking her in.
Yes. So I parked behind her car because Lotus has told me in the past.
You can't tell me anything that Lotus told you.
Okay. I parked behind her car so that the driveway to my left was free for people to come in and out, because I am aware that she does have residents in her home, and I was...
But that means that she couldn't get her car out if you were parked right behind her.
Correct.
Okay. Now, is there parking on the street, Mrs. Olson?
Yes, Your Honor.
May I see that? No, I don't want to. Thank you.
May I describe what is in the photo?
Well, I'm just asking you, is there on-street parking here or not?
It's not laid out, but you're allowed to park on the street. We have also additional parking next door at the neighbors. They've invited us to park.
No, you can't tell me that they invited you. Sorry. I'm just asking whether Miss North could have parked someplace else. And the answer is she could have. It was more convenient to park behind your Suburban. Now, as you turned around to gather your backpack, according to your complaint, you felt something hit your car, your 21-year-old car, right?
Yes.
Would you look up 2001 Honda? Where did you get the car from?
I got it from a small dealership in my town, Sarasota.
Who purchased it?
I did.
For how much?
$3,000.
Okay. And you felt something hit your car?
Yes.
And then you looked up, according to what I read, and you saw the backup lights on.
Yes, I looked up, saw the reverse lights on, waited, saw the car back up into me, hit my car, I honk, the car stops. The car then continues to reverse again, hitting my car. I honk, they stop. I then turn back on my car. I reverse away so she can get out, and then she proceeds to leave.
Okay. And show me what the damage was to your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Kelly's blue book value is $2,500 to $3,500, so right in the range.
Great. What is this? A picture of?
The 2 scratches and the dent.
Let me see the whole car.
I do not have a picture of my whole car.
Well, that's unfortunate. I see a scratch. I don't know if it's a scratch. I see some.
There's a hole towards the corner of the light that was not there before. My whole light is.
You mean this?
Mm-hmm. Yep. See where there's a gap in the light is supposed to be collided with the bumper, and it's not.
Mm-hmm.
It was hit and damaged.
Okay. Did you see her car when you came out?
No, Your Honor.
She didn't see you, so you were in the car, I assume, when she pulled up behind you. Do you understand? So she was in her car, in her driveway, when you pulled up in your car and blocked her car in. If you had seen her in the car, would you have parked behind her?
No.
So you didn't look to see whether she was in her car?
No.
And she was in her car, and her car is high. You look up, you have a big Suburban. You don't expect anybody to be stupid enough to park behind your car. You're in your car already, because clearly she didn't see you pull up because she was in her car, right? Now I'm going to ask you, because you say you don't remember hitting something or you weren't sure you hit anything. Is that your answer that I'm getting?
When my other daughter drove up, parked the vehicle, left it running, ran inside the house, I ran out and, of course, checked behind me and drove out.
No. I asked you a question. You didn't?
I did not hit anything.
Well, you don't remember hitting anything.
Correct, Your Honor.
Yeah, because I don't think Miss North would have made up this story. You had a big car, backed out, and you drove away. Did you see her car pull off when you backed out?
No, Your Honor.
You did not?
No, Your Honor.
When she pulled out, did she go in the same direction as you did or the opposite direction?
The same direction.
Okay. Did you see her car after you pulled out?
No, Your Honor. Not until 2 hours later when we met.
Tell me what happened 2 hours later.
After returning from my appointment, I met Bella at the next door neighbors where we parked, and that's when we examined each other's vehicles.
Well, did she call you? How did you find out that there was an accusation that you would hit her car?
Because we met at the designating parking spots that we've agreed to park at.
So there was just serendipitous that you met there at the same time, or had you been in communication, either with her or your daughter?
I was at a brief appointment, and when I returned home, that's where I parked. And Bella also parked there because that is where we
Okay, so when you moved your car after the defendant, according to you, hit your car, did you park in another spot?
Yes.
Did you park in the neighbor's spot?
I did.
Okay, so that would indicate to me that you were aware that you were supposed to, or could, if there were other cars in it, park in the neighbor's spot, because otherwise I wouldn't park in a neighbor's house. So you were aware you could park there.
I'm never sure when the neighbors are home or not, and I don't feel comfortable parking at a neighbor's house.
But you did park in the neighbor's spot after this happened on April 16th. You did not pull back into Miss Olson's driveway. You pulled into the neighbor's spot.
I did.
And then you went into the house to visit Lotus, right?
Yes.
Now, Lotus didn't witness this, I assume?
No.
When you met in the neighbor's spot, did you show Miss Olson the damage?
I did. We didn't meet there. We met outside of her house as I was leaving Lotus's house and she was going in. I confronted her about it, and then...
Tell me what you said when you say you confronted her.
Ella North and her mother, Angela North, claim business owner Heather Olson owes for car damage.
Okay, tell me what you said when you say you confronted her.
Heather knew that she...
Don't tell me what she knew. Tell me what you said to her. That's the question.
I said, "Are you aware that you hit something earlier? That was my car. Do you want to go check it out?"
And she said?
Yes, of course.
And?
And then she did. She said, "Okay, the damage will probably be at least $600. And then she told me to go to an auto body shop, which I did. And she told me to get an estimate, which I did. And that was that.
Okay. Is that the conversation that you had with her outside?
No, Your Honor.
Tell me your version of the conversation that you had with her. Will you acknowledge that you met her?
Yes. When Bella and I met outside, she came at me accusing me of hitting her vehicle.
Tell me what she said to you and you said to her.
She did say that I hit her vehicle and asked me to look at her vehicle damage. Immediately, I agreed to go look at both vehicles. and we looked at both vehicles. We both took photos of both vehicles. There was minor damage all the way around her vehicle, and I could not see any damage on mine. And I could not understand.
Just a second.
Yes.
Did you look at her vehicle
No.
at that time? Why not?
We never looked at her vehicle. We only looked at mine.
Well, she drove in her vehicle.
Yes.
Why wouldn't you look at her vehicle?
It was about my vehicle. We were concerned with my damage.
It was your damage, but you were contributorily negligent.
I understand that, yeah.
Well, you'd understand that, so you'd want to look at her vehicle too. Did you ever have a conversation with her and say to her, take her to a body shop?
Yes, Your Honor, that is true.
Okay.
I said, go ahead and see if they can find any damage that could have been caused by an accident like that, because I didn't believe it, and I didn't remember ever hitting her. And I thought it would be more like $200. Bella did come back with an invoice for $600 or $700. And then that was shocking to me because I couldn't believe that there was any damage just from that. So it turned out that the body work she was going to have done was basically her entire bumper and both headlights, which is a lot.
Which is not the damage that, even assuming arguendo that you caused, she only showed me a picture of one headlight. Can I see the estimate that you have?
Do you want all three or just the one that she...
What do you want to tell me, Lotus?
I was a witness to that conversation.
Oh, I'd like to hear it.
Yes.
Stand up, move over. Are you living at home?
No longer.
When did you move out?
I would say the second week of June.
Did you have a fight with your mother about this event?
No, I did not want to get involved.
Great. Okay, tell me exactly what you heard your mother say.
She said, this is my auto parts place, and if you go there, I will pay for those damages.
Okay, do you remember that conversation?
Basically, that's correct, that I said, go to this bodywork person that I know, because I thought he'd see that's silly and turn her away.
But your daughter is making a statement. Is that the statement? Go to my body shop and I'll take care of it.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Can I see the receipt that makes it? Have a seat, please. This says customer pays $0, insurance pays $7.95. In my historical brain of information, an estimate from a body shop when they believe insurance is going to pay for it is always a little bit inflated. Did you have your car fixed?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. You agreed to pay for the damage. That's what you agreed to. I will tell you, if you had not agreed to pay for the damage, I would find the plaintiff 50% responsible for this accident. She was as negligent as you were in hitting her car, and I do believe that you hit her car. So, absent an agreement by you to pay for the damage, I would actually split this between the two of you and find the plaintiff 50% contributorily negligent. But since you agreed to pay for the damage and you acknowledge you agreed to pay for the damage, I must rely on this bill, which is $795. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you.
Thank
Court
you.
is adjourned.
I don't think it caused too much friction as we were never that close.
Still in shock.
Obviously, I'm still close with her daughter, so it hasn't caused too much friction.
I agreed with your judgment to give the plaintiff a little bit of money, but I'm not so sure on the contributory negligence reasoning. I agree that parking behind someone's vehicle is never ideal, but if you're going to operate a motor vehicle, you have to check your surroundings. I think that people have to be more careful when they're driving.
People have to be vigilant, but, you know, just because there's an accident doesn't mean it has to be always someone's fault.
Sure.
That's why they invented the doctrine of contributory negligence. I actually think it was just lazy of the plaintiff to park in a spot. She wasn't paying attention to her surroundings because she didn't see the defendant in her car. The defendant ran into her car, didn't see the little car behind. I believe that they were equally responsible. But for the agreement that the defendant made, I would not have awarded her the whole thing. I would have awarded her 50%.
Seemed like just a case of blind spots and bad timing.
Yeah, that's...
is suing her client, Danny Velasquez, for dance class fees.
Court coming to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2086, Renner versus Velasquez.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Renner, you run a dance studio.
I do.
How long have you had it?
30 years.
And what age children do you teach?
We have a Mommy and Me class, which starts at 18 months, and our oldest student is 19 years old.
And Miss Velasquez has a daughter. And she was at your school during what period of time?
She started in June of 2020, and she quit in June of this year.
Your lawsuit is simple. You claim that Ms. Velasquez owes you money for her daughter's dance lessons.
Yes.
The defendant actually disavows owing you any money. She said that you actually behaved in a mean-spirited way in not allowing her daughter to finish her recital. So I'm trying to think back to my days when I was 6 and 7. And if I remember correctly, the name of the school that I went to, and I know that this is not something that everybody is breathless to hear about, but I haven't had one of these cases. And I was thinking back to Miss Nottage, who had a dancing school in her home on Parkside Avenue in Brooklyn. And I do remember that you took classes I took toe, tap, ballet, and acrobatics, which was not my strong suit. Any of them, none of them were my strong suit. Father always said that I should sue the city because they built the sidewalk too close to my behind because my legs are short. So being a ballerina was really not physically possible for me, but in my mind, I thought I was a ballerina. Anyway, as do most little girls, I assume. So you worked during the year, and at the end of the year of your dance class, I remember you gave a recital. Everybody got all excited and dressed for the recital. I assume that's what happens in your class.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's a yes.
Yes.
Did you have a contract with Ms. Velasquez?
I have a registration form which acknowledges receipt of studio policies.
Well, policies is not a contract, but I'll take a look at it anyway. The question is, do you have a signed contract with her?
No.
Okay. May I take a look at that? According to these policies, which are not a written contract because she has not signed this document in particular, you say you acknowledge receipt of it. What it mostly is to tell them what the instructions are and give you a release of liability. It does indicate here that full tuition is due on the first class of each month. And how much was the tuition for Ms. Velasquez's daughter?
From January through June, it was $170 a month. And then from September through December, it was $165 a month.
Okay, so around $170 a month. And I assume she was current on her tuition in 2020. And in 2020, did Ms. Velasquez make her payments on the first of each month?
Well, I can't say exactly on the first, but yes, it was always current, which is why.
That's not what I asked you. Was it made pursuant to your policies here on the first of each month?
I don't know. I don't remember specifically.
What about in 2021? Were her payments made on the first of each month?
No.
When did she stop making payments in 2021 on the first of each month?
Well, I have emailed spreadsheets here, and so starting in December, she asked me if she could make small payments, increments throughout the month because she was a single mother and wasn't able to make the full payment on the first.
So you said yes, that she could make payments incrementally. Mm-hmm. And do you have that same arrangement with some other parents?
I do.
How many other parents do you have that arrangement with?
Well, anybody who asks in...
How many? You run the school.
5.
How many students do you have?
5.
Okay. So you have that arrangement with this mother plus 5?
Mm-hmm.
And that is inconsistent with your policies.
Yes.
That would be a yes. Now, tell me what happened, Ms. Velasquez, that caused you to fall behind in your payments. You acknowledge you fell behind in your payments.
Yes, I do.
When did you fall behind in your payments?
I asked Ms. Renner if I could start making payments in September of 2021, which I have written as well, if you would like to see that. And in October, I didn't pay anything because my father passed away. And I explained that to her, and then I made up for it in November through payments, and I just continued to pay as I could with being a single mom.
Well, that's not a reason to not pay her, being a single mom, as you could. You understand that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I'm sure you're doing the best you can. You're trying to give your little girl, how old is she?
9.
9. Trying to give her the best possible experience. It's all wonderful, but this is her business. And if you owe her money, then you owe her money. Mm-hmm. Since the policies are honored and sometimes not, there was one part of your policy, even though that this is a contract that I actually find ridiculous, because in your lawsuit, you claim you're owed $946 and $7,169.76 interest. That's not happening. And it's not happening. You gave me an easy out because you really don't enforce your own policies.
I try to be kind to people who
and I
need
try
help.
to be kind too. Being kind is not suing somebody for $900 and suing them for $9,000. That's not being kind, because there's no question that you agree that you owe some money.
Yeah.
Okay. But it's an unconscionable. Even if there was a contract for it, I would probably find it an unconscionable piece for somebody who owes you less than $1,000 and you want $7,200 because it includes interest. I find that ridiculous. How many students were in Ms. Velasquez's class?
Approximately 18.
When you say approximately 18, the number varied based on what?
Well, my memory, it was either 18 or 19 children. I don't remember how many. That's a very large class.
Are you the sole teacher?
Well, I do the ballet, and I have a teacher who teaches the jazz class.
Your daughter takes ballet or jazz, or both?
Yeah.
Your daughter stopped going to school when?
May 17th.
Tell me the circumstances.
That was when I got a ledger from the studio that said that I owed $965. And my math was thinking I was closer to like $360. So I kept messaging and asking where the confusion was. And I didn't get a response until May 27th.
That said what?
That said I owed $1,300. And this was from Miss Jenny.
And that was for late fees? What was it for?
The dance team and the costumes for the recital that was coming up.
Okay. Well, do you have a ledger? And I'd like to see your ledger. So far, I have, according to you, what you owe, because you did a breakdown of what you owe. It is your claim that you owe $846, correct?
Yep.
And she says you owe $946. That's without the interest and the late fees.
Yeah.
So you are actually, based upon raw numbers, $100 apart.
I have an email from her stating that she owes $947.
I'd like to see it, please.
And later today, claims her client, Danny Velasquez, owes for dance class fees.
Okay, so in this email, you acknowledge owing $586 and then $360 for team. What is team?
They did like competition teams that I allowed my daughter to be on. Before I let her audition, I made sure that Jenny was okay with my payments, and I sent it all in.
No, I'm just reading the email, which seems to acknowledge that you owed her $947.
Yeah, so the team portion was $361, which is what I thought was owed.
No, you said team, and your regular tuition said that I owed $1,301 when I only owed $586. So $586 and $361 and $947.
You're correct. I just couldn't get any accurate numbers.
I'm taking your numbers that you acknowledge.
Right. First she said it was $1,647 I owed. Then she said $1,400.
Right now I have, she says amount owed $946. You said it was $947. So let's say it's $947. And that's without late fees and without interest. So you would consider that a fair number.
Yeah.
And Ms. Rayner, you would consider that a fair number?
Yes.
Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was fair. I just wish that my daughter would have been able to dance.
Money was due to me, and she was not paying.
I had to go in and be the one that broke her heart.
She argued with every statement we sent her.
We've already found a new studio, and it's amazing.
Pay your bills.
It's a big blessing in disguise that my daughter's not with Jenny anymore.
I'm sure you were a great dancer back in your day. Maybe ballet now isn't for you, but I'm sure you were the cutest one in the class. But I do think it was unconscionable for the owner of the dance studio to agree that the mother only owed around $900, and she wanted to have this court pay her almost $9,000 in late fees and interest. I mean, I think just unconscionable.
It was a good shot. You know, usually when you do a contract, a formal contract, contracts usually say if any part of this contract is found to be either unconscionable or illegal, the remainder of the contract remains in full force and effect. Usually you have something that says that. Well, this was just an acceptance of the school policy, but the school policy clearly was flexible.
It was, and as soon as she said that, I was hoping that she would have drawn up for those 5 or 6 parents that were on a different payment plan. I would have hoped that she, as a business owner, would have drawn up something mimicking a contract with them to show what their agreement was.
Memorialize that agreement.
Because as you said, well, if you're flexible on this point and that point, why are you not flexible on the interest that you...
interest point,
exactly.
which sounded unconscionable.
It did.
Anyway, I really, Sarah, remember those dance classes and crossing Parkside Avenue to go to Miss Nottage's studio. The thing that I remember most about it was the acrobatics class. I swear they had something strung up that looked like a torture chamber. It was strung up from the ceilings and you were put in a harness. You started from one end of the room, and when you got to the minute, she pulled you up on a pulley and you were supposed to do a somersault. And I remember I couldn't get off the ground. My little chubby legs were
flailing,
and I couldn't get my behind over the rest of my body.
Listen, I'm not a dancer either.
And then I started thinking about law school.
Yeah, I think that's a good career path.
Right.
Suing her sister, Kelvis Bentley, for moving costs.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2106, Bentley versus Bentley.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome.
Miss Bentley, this is your sister.
Yes.
The case is relatively simple. Your mom passed away a couple of years ago. There was a house full of furniture that belonged to your mother. According to what I've read, and this is broad strokes, according to what I read, your sister, what's your first name?
Kelvis.
Put your mother's property in a storage unit.
Excuse me, it was already in storage.
Who had put it into storage?
My mom put it in storage. My mom was terminally ill, and she put it in storage 3 months before she passed away.
Is that correct?
Yes.
On what date did your mom pass?
November the 8th, 2018.
So it would have been in storage since August of 2018.
Correct.
From August till November, who paid for the storage unit?
I have been paying it.
And how much is it every month?
Right now it's $209, but it was $182 in the beginning.
But about $200 a month, and it's been 3 years.
Yes, I've been paying that every month.
This is what your case is about. You say that you gave your sister $900 for the purpose of traveling, getting your mother's things out of storage so that you could all disperse your mother's property.
Yes, but the amount is incorrect.
What's the amount?
I gave her $800.
Okay, $800.
Yes.
In order to get your mother's furniture to where you live, so that you could separate the furniture and the family could take what they wanted or needed of the property, correct?
That's correct.
Good. Then COVID struck, your sister didn't use that money to travel, to hire truckers, to move the furniture, and you want that money back.
Yes, that's correct.
That's the whole case. Okay. Just for my own information, you do expect when that furniture arrives to be one of the beneficiaries of that furniture. That's what your sister says. She says that that's the plan once it all comes back.
That's not correct. I didn't want anything out of the storage but pictures.
Pictures?
Yeah.
Well, pictures of things.
Yes, that's it.
Pictures of what?
There's a picture of me and my mother. That's all I wanted.
Did you tell that to your sister?
Yes, I did.
Did she?
No.
How many sisters are there?
It's only 2 of us now. It was 4, 2 deceased.
Did your mother have any other property?
My mother has a whole 2-bedroom home in the storage. She has furniture, everything.
Other than furniture?
No. Clothes, pictures, yes, things like that, yes.
Is there any property in that storage unit that you want?
Well, I'm holding her stuff because it's sentimental. I mean, I can get it, I wouldn't mind having it, but it's really, she got a lot of sentimental stuff in there, so that's why I've been paying.
Furniture?
Yes, furniture, clothes.
Furniture?
Pictures, everything,
Okay.
Yes.
How far away is the storage unit from where you live?
It's in Charlotte, North Carolina.
How far away?
10-hour drive. We stay in Michigan, and the storage is in North Carolina, Charlotte.
Anybody that you know live there close to the storage unit?
My aunt and my cousin does.
And this picture that you want, do you know where it is?
It's in the photo album with the rest of the pictures.
And other than that one picture in a photo album, you don't want anything else, any of the other property?
No.
You two are the heirs, is that right?
We have a brother.
Does he have, as far as you know, any interest in any of your mother's property?
No. When my mom passed, it was me, my niece, and my older brother there at the time of death. And so he got everything he wanted out, and he gave me the key because I was the next to older one because she wasn't there. So he was like, so y'all do what y'all want to do with it. And so that's when I told her, I'll pay it until we go get it.
You said, I'll pay for the storage unit until we go and get it.
Yeah.
Okay, now I'd like you to tell me about this money that she gave you. Do you remember when she gave you the $800?
She gave me the money, I want to say May of 2020.
And can you tell me what the conversation was when she gave you the money?
Here is some money to go towards going to get the things, And so I told her, well, I'll find a way to go get it. I didn't never give her a designated time, but during that time, that was COVID, so no one was able to go. And so I was gonna go this year because I just signed the papers to go and go get the stuff, but no one still was able to go. She never once said that this was money loaned to go get it.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, she had designated it to go and get the property.
Yes.
And you didn't use it to go and get the property.
I used it towards the storage.
No.
I'm sorry, go ahead. No.
The answer is no.
No.
So that's what her complaint is, that it wasn't used for its intended purpose, which was to go rent a truck, movers, and bring the property to where you both live. Okay, and she did give you $800.
Yes.
Okay, and Ms. Bentley, you're prepared to sign a document that indicates that the only property you want from storage is a photograph of you and your mother that's in a photo album.
Yes.
That you want nothing else, that everything else belongs to either your sister or any other heirs that have a legitimate claim on any of that property, but you want nothing else.
That's fine.
Reasonable?
Fine.
Perfect. I'm entering a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $800 with the proviso that the plaintiff will, in fact, sign that document indicating she wants nothing but one photograph from the storage unit.
I gave her $150 back.
Did she give you $150 back?
She did give me $150 back.
You paid her back. So she goes, you're $650. Judgment for the plaintiff, $650. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
It was my mother's stuff. I just was trying to get the stuff. It was in storage for long enough.
We haven't talked in a whole year.
We're not close.
You know, all she wanted is a picture. I give her a picture.
At least I got what I wanted.
We still sisters. Still love her.
Those look like two nice sisters. And I think part of that problem is the intervention of COVID, which really turned everybody's life upside down.
Especially family units.
Family units, because I think that was the intention, that she was going to pay for it to all be brought up, use that money, and then they would go through the property and decide who wanted what and what would be disposed of. It's not an egregious case of misappropriation of funds.
All well-intentioned, I think.
Well-intentioned. I thought it was a sweet case.
Case 2111, Banks versus Mitchell. All parties, please.
Terry Smith is suing her ex-husband, Tony Smith, for 3 ATVs and a lawnmower.
Court cut in order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case number 2148, Smith versus Smith.
Thank you. You're welcome. Ms. Smith, this used to be your husband. You haven't been married in a long time, but after your divorce, you sort of remained friendly and you had some business transactions together. What kind of business?
I would refer real estate business to him and refer flipping homes and the construction work.
Did you take part in that as well?
I did.
In what year were you divorced?
2015.
So this briefly is what I gather from the complaint and the answer and the counterclaim. At some point, according to you, you purchased 3 ATVs. Those 3 ATVs were originally supposed to be used in business.
We purchased more than 3.
How many did you purchase?
Those were the 3 that were left. It was 14 of them that we had.
And when you purchased those together as part of a business?
No, those were mine. I purchased it. The business.
14.
Business was mine. Yes.
14?
Yes.
You purchased them, you paid for them?
Yes, I did.
Okay, and you can prove that to me?
I can.
Okay. Do you agree with the fact your former wife purchased the 14 ATVs?
Yes, I agree, but it was underneath an LLC that was formed.
I don't care whether it was under an LLC or a little umbrella or a big shoe. She bought the ATVs.
Yes.
So one of the things that's in question is the ATVs now are in your custody?
The remaining ones are in my home, yes.
3?
Yes, ma'am.
And you want them back?
I do.
She bought them. Why doesn't she get them back?
Because, Your Honor, there is an outstanding invoice for work that I have done for her.
What?
It's construction work and other odds and ends that was helping her.
That's not part of your counterclaim as a set-off, sir. That's not what you say at all.
Okay, and also there is a counterclaim.
You have a counterclaim. That has to do with your truck. So there really is no reason that you are holding those ATVs. Are they new?
No, they were demonstrator models. There's 1 new one and 2 demonstrators.
Okay, so within 5 days, you make arrangements to get those, okay? I assume that you have children together?
No.
So I assume that you are 2 civilized people. I don't know whether you need a police officer to accompany you to get those, but within 5 days, make arrangements to pick them up from his house. They're yours.
I will, thank you.
Are we then finished with your claim?
Now, there's a lawnmower, an electric zero-turn lawnmower. Okay. It's also part of that claim.
Okay. I sort of remember that. Is that an old lawnmower?
No, it was purchased in May of 2021.
And who was it purchased for?
He asked me, since he could not get it on credit, if I would buy it for him, and the next real estate transaction that I referred him, he said when he got paid, he would pay me the $4,800 back.
Okay.
And so when I asked for it, he said he had put it in a separate savings account to save it for me. And I said, well, I don't need you to save me my money.
Got it. So you have the lawnmower?
Yes, ma'am.
You picked that up with the ATVs?
Thank you.
Got it?
Thank you.
Perfect. Now we have to come to your counterclaim. Your counterclaim is sort of interesting and can be, I think, probably equally swiftly disposed of. After your divorce, you needed a truck. You didn't have any money or credit, according to what I've read, and you purchased a truck in your name for him. And the agreement was that you would make the payments on the truck because you couldn't get credit. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
The truck was purchased in what month and year?
August of 2020.
How much did the truck cost?
$58,000, somewhere in there.
And how much of a down payment did you put down?
$500.
Is that right?
Yes.
That's good. You must have had good credit.
I do.
Good. And what were the monthly payments, sir?
900 and I can't remember exactly. It was under 1,000. It was 940 something dollars, I think.
And you paid for the truck the month of August of 2020 and all through 2021. Until when? When was your last payment on the truck that you made, that you can prove to me that you made?
I have all the payments.
Just tell me, when was the last payment you made on the truck?
It was August of this year.
August of 2022. And that's what your bank records will indicate, that you made a payment of 900 and some odd dollars, August of 2022. And in what month did your former wife repossess the truck, which was in her name?
It was September 20th.
Now you're going to tell me why you repossessed the truck.
Her ex-husband, Tony Smith, owes for 3 ATVs and a lawnmower. Tony is countersuing for the value of a truck.
Okay, you made a payment of 900 and some odd dollars.
Yes, ma'am.
August of 2022. And in what month did your former wife repossess the truck, which was in her name?
It was September 20th.
Okay, now you're going to tell me why you repossessed the truck.
Yes, that truck's first payment was due on October 30th of 2020. I made the payment on November 28th.
No, I'm not interested in history.
Okay.
I'm interested in, he says that he was making payments on the truck. You say he stopped making payments on the truck, which is why you repossessed it. You didn't want your credit to be at risk.
It was 2 of the first payments that I made, and I said, I'm not doing this again like I did on the last truck where I make every payment. But the insurance, I asked for the insurance to be paid since April of 2020, and I requested this on June the 28th of 2022, and I said, here's the insurance premiums I've paid on the GMC truck since we've had it, and it was $1,596. His reply was, I'm happy to pay the insurance on my truck, but don't just dump 2.5 years on me at a time. I will need to break this up into 3 increments. This was June. I don't have any money. The insurance and taxes, the taxes this year is the first time he's ever paid taxes on the vehicle, and it was 1 year late. He drove on an expired tag for a total year. The reason
is that just a second, is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Did you drive on an expired tag for a year?
No, ma'am, it was only a few months late.
So you drove
It wasn't an entire year.
How many months?
2 months.
Well, that's too long.
I agree.
And was your agreement that you would maintain the insurance for the truck as well?
That was something that we discussed, and because of the real reason she actually agreed to purchase the truck, we had a previous truck that was also I was driving, and because of the LLC that the truck was under, it was a very high commercial insurance rate. So she felt that it would benefit her to get another truck and come out from under the commercial rate that she was paying for insurance, and she was going to put it in a group insurance policy.
Where is the truck? Where is the truck? You've had possession of the truck.
That's correct.
So you get all the benefit of the truck, and she gets all the detriment.
I'm just referring to what we
I'm
discussed.
just, what I'm not getting from you, sir, is any sense of, the whole idea was this is going to be my truck. As soon as I finish making all the payments on the truck is going to be mine, right?
That's correct.
And if you didn't make payments on the truck, absolutely, she has a right to repossess it, if that was your agreement. And you acknowledge that that's your agreement, right?
That is the agreement, but I have made every payment, and I have paid all the taxes.
Well, the word paid all the taxes eventually, didn't pay them when due.
That happened once.
Didn't pay them when due, pay them eventually. What about the insurance?
The insurance, I agreed to catch up and pay her back for once she told me what it was.
Okay.
I never received any information about the insurance amount until she sent it all in one.
Okay, she sent it to you in one email. That was in June, and you said I couldn't pay it, and she repossessed the car in September. Between June and September, did you make any insurance payment?
No, I did not.
Why?
It was a lot of things going on at that time that there was money owed to me as well from her. So it was a lot of discussion going back and forth about that.
Well, but one thing is clean. You know about the insurance, and if there's money that she owes you from construction or real estate or whatever it is, you have to put that in compartments. Where is the truck now?
I took the truck back and it is sold.
Did you ever tell him?
He wouldn't talk to me. He hasn't talked to me since May.
So you had the truck for approximately 2 years?
Yes, ma'am.
And how much in total did you pay for the truck?
The exact amount added up was $18,736.
So you paid approximately $9,000 a year, right?
Correct.
Your Honor, we had an agreement of $1,200 a month on the truck to cover the insurance and taxes up front before it was purchased.
That's not true.
Well, if you paid approximately $9,000, Mr. Smith, and you used it for business, correct? That's what you used the truck for. So you paid approximately $750 a month if you paid $9,000 each year for the 2 years, $1,870. You say the payments were $900 a month. That means that there was a shortfall.
Can I bring us? It was more than 2 years. It was August of 2020 until
September.
August of this year.
Well, that's 2 years.
There's also a down payment
of $500. I'm not.
Okay.
So that's $750, sir. I always have a problem with people who are no longer married and no longer happy with each other, where one party has the obligation and has all the liability on a vehicle, including their credit and their insurance, when the other person is being either irresponsible or blinking at certain violations. Let's talk about the violations. Driving without tags, only 2 months. When we forget or we're traveling and we don't get registrations for our cars, we don't drive those cars. Because if you're driving with expired tags, that's against the law.
I would like to point out, if I may, that the bill for that obviously went to her address. It was not given to me. Now, that's not my. I understand that I need to be aware of it, but I never received that bill.
I gave it to him the very month it came in.
Just a second.
That's not true.
Just a second. You're a big boy. You know when your car has to be registered, you have a little yellow tag on the back like everybody else. And insurance, you know, you're supposed to pay insurance. That was your agreement. You were supposed to pay insurance. And you didn't pay insurance.
Is accusing ex-husband Tony Smith of wrongfully keeping 3 ATVs and a lawnmower. Tony claims Terry owes him for the cost of a truck.
Okay. Well, are you working now, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. She sold the truck. How much did you sell it for?
$48,000.
And how much was left on the loan?
$48,000. It was even.
Well, show me.
It was even. Oh.
I'd like to see that.
Ooh.
So $48,000 was, he paid $18,000.
Hang on 1 second, I got it.
Can I submit this to you?
What is that?
Or this, my bank statement showing the payment.
No, you told me. I accepted it.
Okay.
She doesn't dispute it, and I accept it.
I do have a copy of the title here somewhere.
What I'm looking for, Mr. Smith, just so that you know, what I'm having her look for me, she's going to show me how much was left on the loan and how much she sold the truck for. If she sold the truck for more than was left on the loan, the difference between, you're looking at me, the difference between that belongs to you.
Oh, I see.
Because you paid it, right?
I see. Yes, ma'am.
Got it? That fair? Did she tell you that she sold the truck?
No, ma'am.
He went and bought a truck 2 days later, so he was able to buy a truck.
Okay. Would you find those papers for me while you're looking for those papers for me? Mr. Smith, did you buy another truck?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Did you put a down payment on it?
Yes, ma'am.
And you own it now?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're driving it now?
That's correct.
What would you do with a second truck?
Well, I was forced to buy one because I
understand you were forced to buy one, sir. But if you had the truck and you weren't going to use two trucks, you would sell this truck for whatever amount you sold it for. And if there was any overage, you'd get to.
I offered to purchase the truck from her. In fact, she understood that I was planning to purchase the truck from her.
Don't tell me what she understood. Right now, you don't need a truck, and I'm going to find out whether or not she has to give you any money as a result of what she sold the truck for.
This bill of sale does not have the amount on it. I didn't realize that. I'll have to get that from.
Well, this is the time to get it.
I'm sorry, I did not realize it didn't have it on there.
Okay. Oh, you sold it to a company?
I did.
Oh, okay. Not to a private party?
No.
Is that the same company that you purchased it from?
No, I purchased it from a different dealership.
Okay. Do you have the exact amount that the extant loan was?
The original loan was $60,000.
No.
I'm sorry. The exit loan?
Yeah, the exit.
It was between $48,000 and $49,000, give or take. Yeah, hang on.
And the truck was, and the truck.
I have it.
Was purchased for $56,000, so that amounts for his payments plus interest.
I have it. That's the difference of what they gave me. I originally put the down payment on that truck as well. He did not.
That doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was the difference they gave me in the sale.
Okay, so this is the difference.
Yes.
Between what was on the loan.
Exactly.
Between what was on the loan.
Exactly.
And this. Okay, so the excess, sir, was $2,225. She put in the deposit for the truck when it was originally purchased of $500?
She did not.
Yes.
Who did?
I did, and I have a copy. I have that in this record right here.
Show me.
We added tires. We added all kinds of extra stuff and everything to it. I paid for that.
I don't
care.
I don't care.
Yeah.
This is actually.
Just show me.
It's on my phone. Can I show it? Can I?
From 2020?
Yes, what had happened, the amount actually came off of this statement copy.
Let me see.
Can I submit this to you where I made the 2 payments on the truck? When he first started, I made the very second payment and the 4th payment on that truck because he wouldn't make it. I also notified him on June the 20th that he had 30 days to get the truck in his name, and I never heard anything.
You can't notify him within 30 days to get it in his name. That's not the agreement. Let me see.
Yeah. There's this.
It's in yellow.
Yep. Purchased authorized August 22nd, and this is 2020 for $500. Okay, so the difference of $500 that came out of your account brings the total excess that she received $1,725. She's coming to pick up her lawnmower within 5 days and her 3 ATVs. At the same time, she's going to give you $1,725, which is the difference between what was owed on the truck and the profit that was made that she didn't pay for. We're finished here. Thank you very much.
This court is adjourned.
I think it was fair.
Well, it was a little less than I thought I was going to get back from it, and there's a lot more to the story that obviously I couldn't get in.
Well, I mean, I had the truth, so.
She understands why that is because there's an outstanding invoice from me for work that I've done that she's refusing to pay for.
I have supported him since 2003.
Construction work, I did a lot of planning and helping her with her current home that she's living in.
It is just one thing after another, and I could never owe him one dime.
I mean, everything was fine between us.
Has trauma bonded me and manipulated me and gaslit me for all these years and kept me around just in case other relationships didn't work out.
Until she found out I was seeing someone else.
No. I had been asking for everything of mine that he kept and held hostage for a long time before that, but he's probably had many more before that. I just didn't know about them.
But I'm happy.
I was thinking he was making me think that we were reconciling while he was using me.
I don't see us talking anymore.
The bank is finally closed, and the bad bargain has just been a nightmare. It's been hundreds of bad bargains.
No more business ventures.
You see, it's always a mistake, unless you're married, to co-sign a loan for anybody, a boyfriend, a somebody.
An ex-husband.
Especially an ex-husband.
Yeah. Because I think what you said was true. There's always one person that gets no benefit and gets slighted and has their name on the line for their credit for future purchases that they want to make, and the guy who gets to drive the truck.
And the guy gets to drive the truck. Of course, he says that the reason she got all hot and bothered is because he has a girlfriend now. I would have felt a little more sympathy towards him had he not gone out 2 weeks later and bought a new truck.
Carol Crane is suing her daughter, Jessica Crane, for personal items and money from a GoFundMe fundraiser.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2119, Crane versus Crane.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Well, Miss Crane, this is a very sad case. This is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
And I don't know how many children that you have, but I know that you had a son who was in medical school, who was, how old, 25 years old?
30.
30. Sounds as if he was a popular young man. He was in an outing with friends, and sadly, he drowned.
Yes, he did.
And that happened, just a second, and that happened when?
That happened July 29th of this year.
This is what the case is about. His friends, in his memory, started a GoFundMe page.
Correct.
And there is approximately $40,000 in that GoFundMe page.
There was, yes.
I said approximately.
Yes.
There was. And your daughter is, for want of a better word, in charge of that Facebook page GoFundMe proceeds.
Correct.
And it is your claim that as the next of kin, because he died without a will, you are entitled to some or all of that Facebook page.
It doesn't even matter about the GoFundMe funds. I mean, that would be nice in a perfect world, but my daughter took everything. From the day my son passed, when they found his body at the river, the coroner gave her the keys to his truck, and she went to his apartment and emptied it. So I didn't get my chance to be Josh's mom for the last time. I didn't get to empty his apartment.
I can't cure that, madam.
No.
I can't cure that.
No.
And you can't put any sort of a value on anything that your daughter might have taken from that apartment because you don't know what was there.
Correct.
So I can't help you with that. In a perfect world, maybe she would have gone with you to the apartment, but she didn't.
Correct.
Based upon what I read, you were not there during the search for your son or the discovery of his body. Is that correct?
I was at home.
Okay. And your daughter was there?
Yes, she was.
And I assume that you were close to your brother?
Absolutely close to my brother.
Just curious, what prevented you? You were notified that your son was missing. What prevented you from going there?
My daughter was at the house the day Josh went missing, and we had my car torn apart. She left after they called her, and I definitely would have hitched a ride, but I didn't have a vehicle.
Your Honor, I got...
Just a second. Did you say she was at your house?
Yes, she was.
Well, then why didn't you go with her?
They didn't call till after she had left, apparently, and rather than come back and get me...
You mean she left to go someplace else?
She left to go home. Yeah, we were working on my car. She left to go home, and she got a call from Search and Rescue. I hadn't been answering my phone.
Oh, well, that's a different story. You hadn't been answering your phone. It wasn't as if nobody called you.
No, she didn't call.
It wasn't as if nobody called you. Did somebody call you?
Right, from Search and Rescue, yes.
Somebody called you?
Yes.
Okay. Mrs. Crane, this is your problem. If your son passed away without a will, and I'm sure that somebody else, maybe a professional has told you that, a legal professional has told you that, if your son passed away without a will, depending upon the laws in your jurisdiction, you, as his parent, might be construed as next of kin, and any property that he owned at the time of his death would transfer to you.
Right, correct, yes.
He didn't own the GoFundMe page at the time he died.
No, he did not.
So you don't get it.
Okay.
Any part of it.
Okay.
Your Honor, she already received funds from the GoFundMe as well.
Just a second. The people that set up the GoFundMe page, I assume, were classmates of your brother's?
Yes, they were his other fourth-year medical students that had reached out to me and asked if they could...
Don't tell me what they asked you. They set up a GoFundMe page. Do you have the paperwork for the GoFundMe page? I'd like to see it. Okay, so they raised $39,287.
Correct.
Okay. Is there anything that is in writing that makes you either the beneficiary of...
The organizer of
Would you do me a favor, look it up?
Underneath the photo.
It does say that I am the beneficiary listed on there.
Thank you. You're Jessica.
I am.
Okay. Is organizing this fundraiser on behalf of Jessica Crane.
Mm-hmm.
That's her.
That has changed. Initially, it was for Joshua Crane, and with the legal
Just show me.
It's never been for...
Show me, just a second. Mrs. Crane.
Yes.
It wouldn't make any difference, but I'm willing to look at something that originally it was on behalf of somebody else.
The reason I'm here today is not because of the GoFundMe.
Your Honor, that's exactly why she's here. It's the money. It's always been about the money.
Carol Crane claims her daughter, Jessica Crane, is wrongfully keeping her son's property and money from his GoFundMe fundraiser.
This is your complaint. I'm suing the defendant, Jessica Crane, in the amount of $10,000 for my portion of my deceased son's GoFundMe account and personal items, including my son's guitars and his vehicle.
Correct.
Okay. Now you're not looking for his GoFundMe account.
I never really was, because I never knew the law on GoFundMe. I tried to find out and speak to someone about it and get legal advice, and I could never find anyone.
Well, it's very easy. He didn't own this property while he was alive, so you have no title to it. If they said that they're starting a GoFundMe page in the name of your son to be for the benefit of animal rescue, you wouldn't have any control over that.
No, it was meant for his funeral costs.
Just a second.
Which I also paid
It says,
for,
just
Your
a
Honor.
second, on behalf of Jessica Crane.
Right.
On behalf of Jessica Crane, just for my own curiosity, I'd like to know. Your son was buried at some point?
He was cremated.
He was cremated.
And I have the receipts. I paid for his obituary, his cremation.
Okay, so what I'm asking you is, there were no serious funeral costs?
I got everything donated on my funeral.
That's not true as
Just a second. I'm asking you, Mrs. Crane, did you pay anything for your son's funeral?
No.
Okay, that's all. So it's not as if you had any outlay of money for this. You know what I find sort of troublesome? I find troublesome that his friends, because that sometimes happens, it's human nature, you feel so badly about something, you want to do something, and probably the easiest thing to do is to raise money. And the easiest thing for probably these people who are in their 20s and 30s is to start a GoFundMe page. I mean, it just would seem to me if they wanted to do a scholarship for him at the school, if they wanted to do something else, this is for those people out there who are watching, who are GoFundMe people. I've seen some of the more ridiculous ones, you know, and there are good-natured people out there who see these things and will donate $5 and $10. Oh, my goodness, they need funeral costs. Well, in this case, there were no issues, and almost all this money, $40,000, is left. What are you going to do with it?
So there's a couple things that I planned on doing with it. It's why the money has been sitting in account.
I just want the people who donated this money to know what you're going to do with it. It's not for you to buy anything for yourself.
Your Honor.
That would be ridiculous. That's not what was in their minds. So I want to know who I'm dealing with.
Your Honor, after all of Josh's expenses were paid for, which I paid for using that money, I am very close with the dean at UC Davis, who is a good friend of my brother's as well, and they have talked about setting up a scholarship fund for my brother, and I was going to donate a portion of that money back if UC Davis decides to set that up on his behalf. And then I also wanted to set up scholarship funds for my sons, who my brother was very close with.
So what you're telling me is you're going to give a little to UC Davis for a scholarship in his name, and you're going to use some for your two sons for their education.
Absolutely.
Well, that's really not what it was intended to do. I'm just telling you, It was not what it was intended to do.
I mean, at the end of the day, that's how GoFundMes are set up. People can set them up for an intended purpose and they're used for anything.
But I'm just telling the people out there, before you spend money on a GoFundMe page, make sure it's going to go to a place where you want it to go and for the intended purpose you want it, which is to somehow celebrate the life of this young man that was cut short so tragically. And it would seem to me, Miss Crane, you don't have to do anything because they made you the beneficiary of this money. But it would seem to me that a stand-up person would take whatever is left of that and create a scholarship in his name at UC Davis, which is where he went to school. I can't order you to do that, but I'm just telling you, and everybody else out there, make sure if you have a good heart and a good spirit, you know where your money is going. Okay, so you're not entitled to any of the money. Now, did you take your brother's guitars?
I cleared out my brother's entire apartment.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
Just answer.
Yes, Your
answer
Honor.
the question. And how many guitars did you take?
3.
Where are they?
They're at my house.
Now, I don't have to do this. Would you like one of your son's guitars?
Yes, very
Would you
much
like
so.
one of your son's guitars? Do you have any of your son's guitars?
None.
Your Honor, my mom has a long history of substance abuse. She's bought gifts for me in the past, and she's pawned them off. And I would like to keep them in my family, so that's where they stay. So that's why I have possession of them, because I don't want them going to a pawn shop.
I was told I could visit one of my son's guitars at her home.
Just a second, do you play guitar?
No. I just want it because it's my son's, and I bought 3 of his guitars for him.
None of these guitars were purchased by her. They're very expensive guitars. My brother purchased
I can't
every
order
one
her
of
to
these
do
guitars.
anything. I'm just asking her whether she would give you one of the guitars. And she said no. The next thing we have here is a vehicle. Now, tell me about the vehicle.
So Josh didn't have a lot. He was a 4th-year medical student. He has a truck, a Toyota, a 2019 Toyota Tacoma, that he still owes about $14,000 on. I have that here, $13,841.76 on. And at the time, his truck was at the boat launch where they found him. So when I met with the sheriffs, they gave me possession of the keys. They found his keys on his body, and they gave me his keys. So we brought the truck up to where we live in Northern California, took the truck up there, and it's been kept in storage until this is all sorted out. I personally wanted to keep the truck. I have the means to finance the truck in my name. I have the means to make a payment. She does not have the means to make a payment. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have a driver's license. She can't provide insurance for it. I mean, she has driving.
That's not particularly relevant. There's $14,000 left on it. Are you employed?
I was until
Just to say, the answer is either yes or no. Are you employed?
No.
All right, how are you going to pay the note on a $14,000 truck?
I plan on returning to work. This incident has taken my job, believe it or not.
Actually, I don't believe it.
Your Honor, I work 3 jobs.
Just a second. Actually, I don't believe it.
Okay.
So the answer is, if you can't afford to make the payments on this truck, and the only thing that's going to happen is it's going to be repossessed by the bank. Have you been making payments on the truck?
I have not made a payment.
Who is the finance company?
Credit union.
Where is the truck currently stored? Give me the address.
I don't have an exact address.
And later today, claims her daughter, Jessica Crane, is wrongfully keeping her son's property and money from his GoFundMe fundraiser.
I want to see the paperwork on the loan. Okay. Sarah, when we finish with this case, call credit union, advise them who has the truck, let them go repossess the truck. We're finished here. Your case is dismissed.
This court is adjourned.
I had an addiction problem, and she's just angry. She's angry at me, and I've tried to make amends. I've tried to get this better, and she won't have it. My daughter got away with taking absolutely everything, and she wasn't entitled to it.
I think that if there's any lesson to be taken away, aside from the fact that you're not supposed to fight, when you lose somebody so young and so vital, the one innocent party is the credit union who loaned him the money to buy the truck. She's been hiding the truck now for 5 months, hasn't made a payment on it. The right thing to do is for her to turn that truck into the credit union, because I can't control that, except that I can advise the credit union where she is, who she is, that she has possession of the truck, and they should go and repossess it. Anyway, it's all very sad. Before you donate money to a GoFundMe page, make sure you know where the money is going. I think that's the takeaway from this.
Case 2123, Valenzuela versus Jenkins. All parties, please step forward.
Javon Valenzuela claims his former friend, Darian Jenkins, owes for unpaid loans and bail money from a false arrest.
Mr. Valenzuela, it is your claim that the defendant, who is a friend of yours, owes you for some small loans that you made to him.
Yes.
And then it is your claim that he had you falsely arrested.
Yes.
And you want damages for that. You've known him for a while, according to your complaint. You knew him, you were friendly with him, and then he moved out of state and then moved back. Where did you move to, sir?
To Colorado.
And you moved to Colorado from where?
From Texas.
And in Texas is where you knew the plaintiff?
Yes.
In what year did you move to Colorado?
2019.
And in what year did you move back to Texas?
This year, 2022.
And why did you move back?
Why did I move back?
You moved to Colorado for what?
My family was up there, yeah. And then my family went back to Texas.
Oh, so you moved with your family?
Yeah.
How old are you?
I'm 29.
Did you live with your family in Colorado?
No, we didn't all live together, no.
The reason you say you came back to Texas was because your family came back?
Yeah.
Did you have a job?
Yes, I did.
Where?
I worked from home.
What kind of work?
For a newspaper.
In Colorado?
Yes.
What did you do in Texas?
Whenever I moved back, I was still working from home, but they let me go. I got laid off.
When did you get laid off?
I would say June.
June of this year?
Yes, ma'am.
And what month did you move back to Texas?
Oh, I had already moved back in May.
When you moved back in May, where did you go to live?
I was living in hotels.
But there came a point when you had no money.
It got to a point.
When did it get to a point when you had no money?
Maybe July.
And when did you contact Mr. Valenzuela?
I'd say July.
You didn't contact him in May when you came back?
I just want to say that's a lie.
When did you contact him?
I mean, we talked while I lived in Colorado. You know, we always text each other, so.
Well, when you contacted him in July, what did you say to him?
I couldn't say exactly what I said, but.
Give me the gist of it.
Let me borrow some money, I guess.
Okay. And you needed it for living?
Right.
And what did he say to you?
He did sometimes if I asked him.
Okay. And how much did he give you?
Here and there, maybe 100, maybe two.
No, altogether.
Altogether? Oh, I couldn't say how much altogether.
You couldn't say?
I couldn't say, maybe a few hundred.
Did he give you money for housing?
A couple times he did.
How much?
100 here, 100
Do you have
there.
a record of how much you gave him, sir?
I do.
Okay, because he's already said, and would you read that back to me, Whitney, please, about borrowing?
He said, let me borrow some money.
Right. Okay, let me borrow some money. So tell me how much money you let him borrow.
$1,200.
Show me. Okay, now tell me what that is that you're giving him, all those papers that you expect me to read.
These are screenshots of every time I sent him money.
Oh, can I see it, please? Okay, get ready, Sarah Rose.
Is suing his former friend, Darian Jenkins, for unpaid loans and damages from an assault.
So every time you gave him money...
He agreed to pay me back.
No, he's already told me that he called you and asked if he could borrow some money, and you said yes, and he said, I don't know how much it was. So if he doesn't know how much it was, you have screenshots of it, and Sarah is going to add them all up. Okay. Of all the money that you said that you borrowed from him, how much did you pay back?
120.
Good guess. Did he give you back $120?
No.
Did he give you back anything?
No.
Nothing ever?
No.
Okay. So while Sarah is adding that up, there came a point when you left the hotel. Is that right?
Yes.
And Mr. Valenzuela probably got tired of giving you money and said that you could stay in a spare room in his house.
For the most part, yes.
And you moved in August of 2022, the end of August.
Yes.
And then in September, you had a fight. I don't care what the fight was about. It became physical?
He was physical, yes.
No, I wasn't, Your Honor. No, I wasn't.
Let's say you had an argument that spilled out into the street, because this becomes very important, because there's the other charge is false arrest. And it was a false arrest you claim, based on his statement to the police, that you assaulted him.
Right.
Right. He says, yes, you had an argument, but you weren't arrested on his allegation that you assaulted him, but you were arrested and held on an outstanding warrant. When the police responded, they found that there was an outstanding warrant. So now I want you to tell me, in September of 2022, did you have an outstanding warrant? That's either a yes or a no.
Well, it was on a payment plan.
I don't care what it was. Did you have an outstanding warrant?
Yes.
And the outstanding warrant was for a what?
Traffic tickets.
What kind of traffic ticket?
I think I was speeding, and I didn't have my license either.
So speeding, driving without a license. What else? You have insurance?
I think it was insurance.
Not think. Speeding, driving without a license, and no insurance.
And no tags.
And no tags. And for that, you got fined.
Yes.
And you didn't pay the fine.
I was paying it.
Well, there wasn't a warrant outstanding because you were cooperating and paying the fines.
The county that I'm in, they said, the police officer said, it doesn't matter if you're on a payment plan. They'll arrest you if they want to.
Mr. Valenzuela, did you miss payments on your fine?
Yes.
Perfect. And so when the police responded to this kerfuffle that was out in the street, when they ran both your names, your name came up with an active warrant.
Yes.
Well, that's easy. So that you were arrested on the outstanding warrant.
I would have never been arrested, though, if he wouldn't have acted.
If he didn't call the police.
No, he didn't call the police.
Who did?
My neighbor did, because the way he was acting.
So your neighbor called the police, but for the outstanding warrant, I don't know whether the police would have taken you into custody. You had an injured lip. They could see that your lip was bloody. You say he fell, must have fallen outside. You don't know how that happened. It's really not relevant to this case. But if I were the police and I showed up, you didn't have any visible injuries, right? No, you had a busted lip. If you both are alleging that there was a fight, police would look at you and say, well, he's injured. He's got a busted lip, got to sew it up. They wouldn't have arrested you unless you had a warrant, right?
Right.
Good. So that's not his fault that you had a warrant. It's not his fault.
I have that total. It's $2,727.56, and that's including some direct payments to Motel 6s and other housing accommodations.
Includes that?
Yes, in addition to direct payments to the defendant.
Great. He says you didn't make any payments. $27.27.
I mean, there's no way he expected me to pay. I never said I was going to pay him that back.
Well, you told me that you asked him if you could borrow some money. That's what you said.
A couple times I asked to borrow money, but the entirety of that, all that, like, I didn't say I was going to pay that back. And he should know he was just being nice.
He's being
and
nice.
Sometimes he offered
Not
that.
anymore.
Yeah, not anymore.
You have a job now?
Yes.
Okay, great. $27.27. Judgment for the plaintiff. We're finished. Thank you.
This court is adjourned.
I think he was just mad overall, so he just picked something to get me back with.
Just like he said, he thought I was being nice. Why would you say you're going to pay me back, but then not pay me back?
He was screaming. Yeah, he was screaming. Just screaming, cussing, like, embarrassing.
He was acting crazy, and because he was acting crazy, woke up the whole neighborhood.
Well, he was drunk, going crazy outside, running around the apartment complex, so she called the cops on him.
That's what made my neighbor call the cops, and that's why they came.
Oh, no, there's no friendship. It's gone. Yeah.
Don't have friends like that, but also don't bite the hand that feeds you. That thing comes good out of it, so.
Just something funny from the receipts that I was looking at. Some of them say, you know, the price really big on Venmo or Cash App, and then it just says completed at the bottom. On some of them, though, you could see heart emojis that the defendant sent thanking him, basically acknowledging that he received the money payment, sent a red heart emoji, and some of them were at very odd hours of the night, like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, some direct to Motel 6, some direct to other housing accommodations.
It's so interesting.
But I liked the receipts. I liked the
I never
paper trail.
Right.
Yeah.
It's
made it easy.
It's true. Mm-hmm. And because when people say I gave him cash, and
even with an ATM slip, you never really know if the cash transferred hands
but this actually makes our job much easier.
Yes, it does.
Is suing her ex-boyfriend, Andrew Talon, for the cost of a car he wrecked during an accident.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge. Case 2163, Raquel versus Talon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Rocco, this is basically what the case is about. You and the defendant were in a relationship. You have one child together. And it is your claim that some 3 years ago, he took your car with your permission. You were living together at the time. He took your car and had an accident.
Correct, yes.
And that was 3 years ago. And you want him to pay $5,000 on a car that Sarah has already checked, which is worth...
Between $1,400 and $3,000.
Which is worth a quarter of that. Do you understand?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I want you to forget about $5,000. So if he's responsible for anything for the car, he's responsible for what its value is, which is about $1,400. How long had you been living together when he borrowed the car?
About a year.
Okay. And was your child born during that time?
Yes.
What month and year was the child born?
August 2018.
When was the first time that you asked Mr. Talon for money for this car that had been in an accident?
After he was released from jail, he got arrested from a previous warrant at the scene of the accident, directly from the hospital. So when he was released from jail.
What was the date of the accident?
April 30th, 2019.
And how long were you held in jail, sir?
I believe June 11th or so, roughly almost 6 weeks.
What was the warrant for?
Domestic battery.
Against whom?
Against Eve.
Against her?
Against Eve. Yes, against her.
Well, you were living together. Did you file another complaint after the accident?
No, I didn't. There was a warrant from the initial complaint.
And what year was that?
That was around November of 2018.
But you remained living together and you had a child together. Why didn't you just withdraw that case?
I did withdraw it. I didn't realize that a warrant had been released until it was acted upon.
Well, when he was arrested and he was held in jail, he contacted you, correct?
Yes.
Of course he did, because he said, what's going on? We're living together. We have a child. What's this warrant for domestic battery?
It just took time for me to get it dismissed.
No. What I'm asking you is, he contacted you.
Yes.
And when he was released in June of 2019, where did he go to live?
He came back.
For what period of time?
About a month, maybe 2 months at the most.
And you lived together as a couple with the baby?
Yes.
And how old was the baby at the time?
He would have been about between 6 and 8 months off the top of my head.
And the two of you cared for him?
Yes.
And during that 2 or 3 month period, there was no discussion that you have in writing about paying back for the car?
Not in writing.
Not in writing?
Yeah.
Now, what happened after the 2 months?
He began exhibiting behaviors that were the behaviors of somebody who was using drugs. Again, he was clean for a long period of time, and his attitude changed, his behaviors changed, and I decided that it was time for him to go back to his mother's house.
And he did?
Correct, yes.
It was after a couple of months?
Yes.
So that would have been in maybe August or September. Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so in August or September. Did he continue to see his son?
He did, yeah. I would bring Eden down to his mother's house for them to have visits together. His mother has always been a safe spot for them to visit.
And how long did you do that?
Up until recently. For pretty much
recently, so you're talking about 19, 20, 21?
Yes.
Right? And
there was a period of time where, because he was living with his mother at first, there was a period of time where I didn't know where he was living. It made me uncomfortable that I was bringing my son, even though they were visiting at his mother's house. It made me uncomfortable that he wouldn't let me know an address for him, just in case anything happened, just in case, anything happened, basically. He didn't give me an address for me to find him or for me to know where Eden might be if anything were to happen.
So what I'm getting is, for 3 years after this accident, there was no request that you can demonstrate. Now, you weren't together, certainly, so for the last 2 years, you never went and filed claiming that he owed you money for the car.
So I did. Sorry.
Is that correct?
No, I did attempt to file several times, but I didn't have an address for him. I tried to file once for an address where he was at his mother's.
Do you have any proof of that?
I do not.
No. You continued to bring your son for visitation with his father.
Correct.
Which is a very easy thing to do. You're a smart enough gal. I'm gathering that. You bring a friend, you serve him personally with a summons and complaint. So the answer is for 3 years you did nothing. Now I'm going to find out why. After 3.5 years, you filed this complaint over a $1,400 car.
His boyfriend, Andrew Talon, owes for totaling her car. Andrew is countersuing for emotional distress and attorney fees after Eve took their son.
Okay. You bring a friend, you serve him personally with a summons and complaint. So the answer is for 3 years you did nothing. Now I'm going to find out why. After 3.5 years, you filed this complaint over a $1,400 car. Now, Mr. Talon says in his cross-complaint that there came a time when you left the state, the jurisdiction, that was the child's home state.
Yes.
And when did you leave the jurisdiction?
That was in September of 2021.
And you went from where to where?
We went from Florida, we stopped in South Carolina for a period of time. We had a little vacation before we had to go, because we were going to work, we were going to clear a property out for sale.
So you left the jurisdiction with the child?
Yes.
Prior to that, Mr. Talon had been seeing the child regularly at his mother's house?
Yes.
Did you tell him you were leaving?
Yes.
What did he say when you told him you were leaving?
He didn't really say anything. He just wanted to spend time with him, which he was, they did spend time together before we left.
Not before, after you left. You moved to New Jersey.
I didn't move. I didn't move to New Jersey.
What did you do?
So, like I said, we went there to liquidate a house that we have there. It took longer than expected.
How long?
It took about 5 months, 6 months. Things happened with the closing. Deals were made and fell through.
How long did you tell him you were going to be away?
I was only supposed to be away for 2 weeks.
That's a big deal, Miss Rockhill. That's a big deal.
It is.
Because if he says, I'm taking Eden for a 2-week vacation, if that's okay. I know you took him away. I'd like to take him away for a 2-week holiday. And he goes away for 6 months. You wouldn't like that.
I would not.
You would not. Well, he's a parent just like you are. That's what the law says. The law says men, women treated just about equally when they have a child. If you said to him, I'm going away for 6 months, and he said, okay, well, then you agree to. But you said, we'll be away for 2 weeks. And it lasted longer.
Yes,
and during the time that it lasted longer, about 6 months longer than it was supposed to, what arrangements did you make for your son to see his father?
They had video calls regularly. I told him I would be back as soon as I could.
Just a second. So the answer is you did not make any, because he has a counterclaim here.
Yes.
And his counterclaim is for the fact that you took the child out of the jurisdiction and deprived him of the ability to see the child. Subsequently, due to circumstances, and I'm not sure what that is, the child is no longer in your custody.
Temporary.
The child is no longer in your custody. The child is in the physical custody of the paternal grandmother. Is that correct? And that is by court order?
Yes.
The beginning of that process was made in what month and year?
July of 2022.
Was that a child protective proceeding?
It was, yes.
And I assume that if there was a child protective proceeding, that the court found that based upon whatever was alleged in the petition that was not brought by him, but by the Department of Social Services or Child Welfare Administration, they found that the child would be at risk in your custody.
Yes.
And as a result of that, they took the child into care. And this is all stuff, because I've been here. This is my bread and butter. Instead of placing the child in a strange foster home, they placed the child with the defendant's mother.
Correct.
For how long a period? 18 months?
Indefinite. There's no specified period of time. However,
well, if the court is placing a child through the state, unless you relinquish your parental rights. Did you do that?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Unless you relinquish your parental rights or the court terminated your parental rights, they have to review this case periodically to see whether either one of you, as the parents, are ready to assume custody of the child. Right? So when is this case going to be reviewed?
I believe the next review is in February.
February of this year?
This year, correct, yes.
That's a reasonable answer, so that you do know. So that's the change in circumstance. Now, getting back, Ms. Rockhill, to what motivated you after 3 years, after you gave him permission to drive the car and he had an accident, and you made up this whole baloney story in your complaint that says, police arrested Andrew at the scene of the accident because I had previously filed a domestic abuse charge against him and there was a warrant. But you were living together during the time that there was this outstanding warrant. You were living together and conceived a child with him.
The child was already conceived. He was already born at the time of the domestic violence altercation.
He was about 2018?
In the end of 2018, yes. He was born in August. The altercation happened in November. So he was very young.
But you reunited and were living together with him as a family.
Yes.
Right. The police arrested Andrew Ben on a domestic abuse charge, and there was a warrant. When Andrew was released from jail, he disappeared.
So
that's what, just a second. That's what you say here. He disappeared. My car was fully paid off, and I had no liability insurance. Andrew refused to pay for my total car, and he refused to see our son. He moved and went into hiding. That's what you signed. That's your complaint. I tried to file the small claims case against him several times, but could not find his current address. Well, that's not true. You knew exactly where he was until you moved out of the jurisdiction to New Jersey for 6 months, because he had been regularly seeing his son at his mother's house.
But he wasn't living at his mother's house.
It doesn't make any difference. That's not what you say here. He may not have been living there. He may not have wanted you to know where he was living.
He didn't, and that's
well,
why. So I
that's okay. He doesn't have to tell you where he's living. Unless a judge orders him, he doesn't have to tell you where he's living. You were having visitation at his mother's house. So all of this stuff after the accident is all a bunch of baloney.
Brockhill has accused her ex-boyfriend, Andrew Talon, of totaling her car. Andrew claims Eve kept him from seeing their son.
You knew exactly where he was until you moved.
I didn't, though. He was not living at his mother's house at the time. That was just a place that he was visiting with Eden that I would bring him to.
Perfect. So you would set the terms of that, and the terms were that he could see the child even without a court order because he was his father and had lived with him after he got out of jail.
Yes.
Lived with him, but you don't say here, after he got out of jail.
But I didn't put that.
I don't think you have a case. He drove the car with your permission. You were living together as a couple. You have a child together. Your case is dismissed. Now, I want you to tell me, sir, you have a counterclaim for her kidnapping your son. She left the jurisdiction. You called Child Protective Services.
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me when you called Child Protective Services, because that's the reason that this lawsuit came about.
The last time I saw him before she left to stay with him was September 19th. Me and my family, we went to SeaWorld, and she was supposed to meet me. She said when we dropped off that she was going to meet me in Tampa. And when I called her, she said that she was in Jacksonville. She lives in Ocala, so she was still 2 hours northeast of where she lived, and she wasn't in Tampa. So I just decided just to take him home rather than argue. I took him home, and the house was just disgusting. Beer cans filled up in the trash cans. The living conditions were troubling.
Was there a neglect proceeding?
For this?
The baby.
I had an interview with the caseworker or the investigator initially.
Were you there in court when your mother was granted? Yes?
Yes, ma'am.
Was Miss Rockhill?
Yes, she was there too.
You see your son regularly?
Yes, ma'am.
So the period of time when you did not see him was a 6-month period, is that right?
That was the second time. Yeah, it happened the year prior. She did it before too, where she removed him from school. Since I moved home in 2019, we've shared custody periodically until she decides that she wants to take him and not allow me to see him or for whatever. I think it's a control thing, and this was the second time. My counterclaim is for the second time.
How long was the first time?
Roughly the same time, 5 months, 6 months.
Where did you go the first time?
I didn't go anywhere. I actually received a text from his mother, Angel, to come pick up Eden. Andrew was using drugs again, and come pick up Eden would be easiest to do it while he was at school to avoid potentially traumatizing Eden.
Did you send that email?
I did not send her an email, no.
Not a text message.
I sent her a text message.
Okay, just a second. You're his mother. Come. You sent her a text message. That's not something that she would make up because I'm going to ask to see it. She's going to show me. So did there come a time when you were concerned that your son was using drugs? That's either a yes or a no. Yes. And was it at that time that you suggested she come and pick up Eden?
I told her to pick him up from school. I didn't tell her to come pick up Eden and take off for 5 months.
I didn't take off.
Okay, but you told her to pick him up from school.
Yes.
He knew where to find me. I was at the same address. I didn't leave anywhere. He's known where we've lived the entire time. He could have come up and seen him. We could have met somewhere.
I don't know. You did, in fact, remove him the second time for 6 months.
The second time, yes. I not purposefully to keep him away from Andrew. We had business to attend to, and it ended up taking a lot longer than it
Now you see him.
should have.
Now you see him all the time. Is that right?
I live back at home again. Once this happened, because...
Just a second. So you live back at home with your mother?
Yes, I see him every day.
Since when?
I've been living back at home for, I think, roughly a month or so.
Where are you working?
I work for a solar company.
For how long?
I went to jail for DUI last year. I got out. That's why I'm having to do the case plan because of my DUI. That was in like August 1st is when I started this job.
Okay, you working?
I am, yes.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a dental assistant.
Did you have a trial in the family court?
Not yet. We're still awaiting adjudication.
A full custody?
Yes.
But the child is with you under the auspices of Child Protective Services?
Yes, her trial is the 13th of February.
For the neglect case?
Yes.
Is that correct? You have a lawyer there?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. Your case against the respondent for the damage to the car 3 years ago is dismissed. Likewise is your action against her for attorney's fees, the custody. Are you appearing in that custody case?
I'm almost complete with my case plan. I will be there for that. Yes, ma'am.
Good. So I suggest we not say anything nasty about each other,
Yes, ma'am.
because there is always that strong probability that you're going to have to co-parent this child.
It's never been a problem in the past.
Good. Very good. Case is dismissed. We're
Thank
done.
you.
This court is adjourned.
I don't want to be a part of his life. I want him to have a part of his child's life, as I always have and have always done my best to make sure that he has.
Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I think she was just trying to get back at me, maybe not.
Unfortunately, circumstances arose that I wasn't expecting.
I feel like sometimes our son was used in a way to hurt me.
Things happened with the sale of the house and the closing of the house. Deals were dropped. We were just trying to get rid of it, and it took longer than expected.
It's hard to see the fighting and just the separation of the family.
I was just worried. I was in mom mode, and I was worried because I know what he's capable of. I've been exposed to him while he was exhibiting behaviors that would be damaging and traumatizing to Eden.
It's my past. It's true. I'm not the same person, but
I just want to be the best parent I can be.
I hope we can parent our son together.
Sarah, there are lots of tentacles in that case.
There were?
Yeah. But if you try to take all those tentacles that we really don't have jurisdiction over, I think that they said that custody is ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
If you remove all those tentacles, there was an accident 3 years ago, and despite the fact that she really knew where he was, where he could be served, because she regularly brought the child over to him, and he said that for a good part of that time she had 50-50 custody. Mm-hmm. She was perfectly comfortable with Eden staying with his paternal grandmother. Mm-hmm. Case was really about this car.
Yeah.
And he had an accident 3 years ago. They lived together, they slept together, they shared a child together. And now that he notified Child Protective Services of what he saw when he brought the child home, and she physically lost custody after an investigation, that's the motivation for filing this now. She waited too long. He had her permission, drove the car. As far as I'm concerned, the only person that I ever feel sorry for in these things
is the kid.
Tracy Gallen is suing her client, Ronald Webster, for unpaid wages while working as a home aide.
Court come to order. All rise.
Have a seat, please.
Hello, Judge.
How are you, Kevin?
Good, good. Case 2168, Gallen versus Webster.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss Gallen, you are a home health aide.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you go to any particular school or have any training to be a home health aide?
Well, I went to CNA nursing school, so I'm
CNA? What is
certified nursing assistant.
And you've been doing that for over a decade?
Correct.
Do you need any license in the state where you're from in order to be a CNA?
CNA, yes. Caregiver, no.
But you have a license from CNA?
Yes, ma'am, and also have a license for a medical assistant.
Now, there came a time when you answered some sort of an ad by Mr. Webster. Mr. Webster had a mother who was ill and needed some assistance in caring for her. Are you a working man, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a caterer and a DJ, and also a driver.
Do you get any salary from any of those jobs?
It ranges from job to job. We're building
Usually, how much?
for DJing, a couple hundred.
Couple hundred for how many hours?
It's based by the job, the location, things of that nature. So it can vary.
Caterer.
Catering, we're building a family business, so basically getting started with it. Probably made as much as $1,800 before for a catering event. So again, it was brand new prior to the pandemic.
Okay, and what's your steadiest source of income?
Driving as of now.
How much do you make approximately an hour driving?
Now, probably $22 with the subtractions for
$22 an hour.
Yes.
Is that with or without your tips?
That's with tips.
Did you always live with your mother?
I lived with her for quite some time.
Say within the last 10 years.
Within the last 10 years, I moved out 3.5 years ago. Due to illness, I was staying with her, so I was not really able to work. During that time, I went to school to become a caterer, cook, etc., culinary school, business school, because I did have aspirations to open a restaurant eventually, or a catering business eventually.
So you didn't live with your mother for the last 3.5 years?
No, Your Honor.
What kind of illness did she have?
My mother was diagnosed initially with COPD. I forgot exactly what those words are, but it's a pulmonary. It's with her.
I know
breathing.
it's COPD. It's a pulmonary disease.
You're better than me. Then there's also emphysema, along with some other things that I was not made aware of until she passed away.
How old was she?
68 years old.
A kid.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long was she bedridden? From when to when?
November 23rd until her death date of April 30th.
So all the time that the plaintiff took care of her, she was bedridden.
Yes, Your Honor.
And was your mother pretty strong-willed?
Yes, very much so, Your Honor.
And the COPD and emphysema was in all probability, at least in part, if not in all, attributed to her smoking.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, according to your complaint, Ms. Gallion, you worked for Mr. Webster in taking care of his mother, with whom he didn't live. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did anyone else live with her?
My son lived with her.
How old is he?
He's 29 years old now.
What does he do?
He was working at the time for Tesla.
He was, but he's no longer.
No longer.
But at this time, he was working for Tesla?
He was working for Tesla.
The whole time?
Yes, Your Honor. The whole time
right?
from being released from the hospital up until her death day, yes, Your Honor.
Now, the house belonged to your mother?
Via rent, but yes, Your Honor.
She rented it?
Yes, Your Honor.
She was a rentor?
Yes, Your Honor.
So her grandson just stayed there with her?
Yes, Your Honor.
So he slept there, and you were supposed to come during the day?
Yes, Your Honor.
Monday through Friday?
Monday through Saturday.
Okay. Now, do you have the ad that you got from the defendant?
I do.
May I see it, Kevin, please? Thank you.
I also have the messages, Your Honor, from that ad.
Let me just read this. Okay, so you were asking for somebody good to take care of your mother because she was a great caretaker all of her life.
Yes, Your Honor.
Very nice.
All of my life.
All of your life.
Yes, Your Honor.
And in it, he says IHSS for now. Would you explain what that is?
It's in-home supportive services.
From the federal government or the state?
From the state, if I'm not mistaken.
And you are from the state of?
California.
Well, this is what he wrote. So when you spoke to him with the same parameters of your employment as contained in his ad, that you would be working for IHSS for now, maybe more in the future. I don't know what that means. I assume it means that if it works out, you'd be paying her in addition to what she was making with IHSS.
No, Your Honor, I don't.
What does it mean? IHSS for now.
Yes.
Maybe more. What does that maybe more mean?
I honestly can't recollect what that meant. I am aware that I did send that text message or that Facebook post.
Is there anything in any of the text messages you have that indicates what maybe more is?
Yeah, just verbally, he stated out of his mouth that anything extra, him and his son would pay out of pocket.
Okay. Extra like what?
Extra hours, if the hours that I agreed to work to, if it needed to be extended, my traveling time, my toll from where I was driving from, he was supposed to
reimburse you.
Yes,
for.
ma'am.
Is that correct, sir?
No, Your Honor.
Now, you started working when?
February 24th was my first day.
From February 24th until April what?
23rd.
And that was 6 days a week?
It varied because depending on my schedule. So every other week I would work Monday through Friday, and then the additional weeks I'll work Monday through Saturday.
So it's between 5 and 6 days a week. And how many hours a day were you working?
5.
So when you came into work, was the grandson still there?
Sometimes he was, sometimes he wasn't.
And if he wasn't, Miss Webster was alone?
Correct.
And when you left, was she alone?
Yes, ma'am.
And then hopefully the son came back to assist her at night.
From my understanding, there was another caregiver that was supposed to be there at nighttime, which I never saw, so I'm not sure.
Did you have another caregiver there at night?
Yes, Your Honor.
And who was that?
Her name was...
How long was she there?
You mean her work time or her duration of employment?
Duration of employment.
The same time that Tracy started.
Did she get paid?
I'm not aware of
Just a second. Did you fill out papers for...
Your Honor...
That says it...
No.
If you didn't fill out papers for her, then either she was working for nothing or she got paid from you directly. Before you answer me, you had a nighttime person who was hired at the same time the plaintiff was. Either she was paid from an agency, or she was paid from you, or she did it gratuitously. What was it?
Tracy Gallen claims her client, Ronald Webster, owes for unpaid wages.
Now, the agency, was she paid from an agency?
Yes.
Don't say yes if she was not. If she was not paid by the agency because she didn't get paid, then say she never got any money from the agency. And if you never filled out any paperwork, she couldn't have gotten paid by the agency.
Correct.
Well, why don't you just...
Let me rephrase that, because this is where the trepidation comes along. Neither of the caregivers were properly inputted into in-home supportive care system. So there's an allotment that is allowed where caregivers can work in hopes of having a large lump sum payment once they get their paperwork, background check, and everything else taken care of. So up until the 29th, no one had gotten paid because no one had their paperwork taken care of yet. So it's on the 29th when that starts to come about. So I personally never signed any paperwork for neither of the caregivers.
It's not true, Your Honor.
Just a second. That's what he's saying. Okay. So he signed no paperwork. And she worked for you from February to March, March to April, for 2 months. How much did you pay her in the 2 months that she worked there?
Out of my pocket, I paid her $110 with a caveat. It was the first time that she worked on a Saturday. I asked her to do so because I had...
Just tell me how much you paid her.
$110.
Anything else?
Because I had a calendar DJing event. I was not fielding anything up until that point.
Mr. Webster.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, Your Honor.
You seem like a nice man. It's going to cost you money. You can either make it easy or make it hard. From February to April, did your son work?
Yes, Your Honor. He worked at Tesla.
Then I'm not finished with you with that. Your son worked for Tesla. I assume Tesla paid him.
I'm assuming he got paid too, Your Honor.
And when you worked as a caterer, I assume you got paid.
I was not working as a caterer during that time, Your Honor.
Were you working as a driver during that time?
I did work as a driver during that time, Your Honor.
Did you get paid?
Yes, Your Honor.
Prior to the plaintiff getting hired and this other woman, had your son ever applied to be caregiver for your mother? Think carefully before you answer that question. Think very carefully, because this one knows all. Had your son ever applied to be your mother's caregiver?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes. Oh, makes it so easy. And when did he apply to be your mother's caregiver?
According to the information I have, which I was just made aware of.
Just a second.
Yes, Your Honor.
That's a lot of... Your son is in your mother's house.
Yes.
You're there all the time because you're interested in your mother. You are the next of kin. You have to sign off. Did your son sign up to be your mother's caregiver, and when? Give me the month, day, and year that he signed up.
According to the paperwork I have, I'd have to look at it because I don't...
Look at it. You can look at it, digest it. Give me the date. See, Sarah, it's what's on paper doesn't always make sense, right?
Yeah.
You know?
You figure it out along the way.
Follow the money.
Yeah, always.
Always got to follow the money.
Leads you right to where you want to be.
Let's go.
According to the paperwork I have here, his paperwork was started on August of 2021.
When was it signed?
It does not state that.
And she started working in February. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
So between August and February, Mr. Webster, who took care of your mother?
My son lived with her. He's, according to this, I was not privy to this information before.
Let me understand something.
Yes, Your Honor.
This is not a House Select Committee investigation, sir. This is just a court where I'm trying to figure out Who took care of your mother, who was unable to take care of herself from August until February when you got another caregiver? And whether that person was signed up to get in-home health benefits. So the answer is, partially I know that your son, who lives with her rent-free.
No. I'm sorry, not with my mother, not rent-free.
Lives with her.
Yes.
Maybe not, then maybe Kevin and I are paying the rent. You never can tell. I don't know how much, and I can't ask you how much money your son made between August and February, but maybe she got a little too difficult for him to deal with because in stages of being sick that way, you require a lot more help than you want your grandson to take care of. And so you needed somebody else. Now, I've just about, Mr. Webster, reached the end of creating the picture in this case, but the plaintiff was there, and so far you've given her $100 in 2 months. You got paid during that time period. Your son, who worked for Tesla, got paid during that time period. You can bet your bottom booty that I got paid during that period because I worked. Nobody said to me, well, you didn't get your form in right there. We're not paying you. Really, you're not paying me. You can find me today getting my pedicure. She stayed, even though she didn't get paid. Now, if she didn't work for you, could you or your son have gone out to do their other work? Or would you have left your mother alone? What would you have done?
Possibly made other arrangements, Your Honor.
Possibly. You mean get another sucker to work for free? You think that she should work for free? You think that she should work for free?
No, Your Honor, but I don't think she should smoke cigarettes with my mother alone.
Listen, you have a counterclaim. Your counterclaim is stupid.
Okay.
Your counterclaim is stupid. You just told me before your mother is the kind of woman that would do exactly what she wants to do. And what you think yourself, since you're not there and off doing your thing, somebody who's terminally ill, not getting better. You knew that, right?
I did know that.
You did know that. And if your mother chose an easier way to go than the one you selected for her, that would have been her prerogative. That's also a fair statement.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so you didn't like the caring that she did for your mother, but actually her leaving had to do with your not paying her. You didn't fire her. Okay, let's put it this way. Did you fire her?
No, Your Honor, because I did not have the power to do so.
You did not fire her.
No, Your Honor.
That's not true, Your Honor.
Who is Ron Webster?
I am Ron Webster.
You hired her.
No, Your Honor.
Well, this is you. Need a good caregiver for my mom. Need. That means I need.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, let's go to one other place, okay? And then I'll let you talk. Right now, it doesn't seem to be that you're losing, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tracy Gallen is accusing her client, Ronald Webster, of refusing to pay her after caring for his mother. Ronald claims Tracy smoked cigarettes and marijuana while working.
How much do you think the time that she worked there, taking care of your mother, was worth?
Your Honor, I personally cannot put a price on that. I know she's contracted through IHSS for $16 per hour.
Did your mother have a life insurance policy?
My mother had a couple of life insurance policies, yes.
What were they, and who were the beneficiaries?
I was a beneficiary
of
both
one.
of them.
How much?
The total was $3,700, Your Honor.
Did she have a separate policy for her burial?
No, Your Honor.
Did she own any property anywhere?
No, Your Honor.
So what was the total you received from the estate?
The policies was set to pay $1,300, which I have not received all.
You mean in addition to the $3,700, you'll receive another $1,300?
$13,000 is what I meant to say. If I said $1,300, I misspoke. $13,000.
$13,000.
Total. Okay.
How much did you pay for the internment, the service, if there was one, whatever? How much did you pay? You paid for it, I assume, out of this money.
I have not done all the math. It's upwards of $15,000 or so. As I'm still.
I haven't done all the math.
I'm still making payments.
How much are you owed?
I have it there, 26. The whole breakdown is.
And
the amount was $29.12 minus the $300.
You say he gave you $300, not $140.
Correct.
Okay.
He cashed at me $300.
My question is that at $16 an hour?
Yes, ma'am.
Which is what you would have made?
Correct.
Do you have any other evidence to support the fact that he was helping you or that he agreed that this money was due and owed to you?
I have the email here where he was asking me to send a total of hours, what he owed me.
May I see that, Kevin, please?
And then this is also the payment that he did pay me, the $300.
Well, this is from you.
Yeah, he asked me to send that to him because he kept acting confused.
But this is from you to him.
Correct.
Can I see your answer to this when she sends you this document?
I don't have that email.
Well,
and
do you have it?
I'm not sure if there's an answer. I could check my phone.
No. Okay. Now, in March, Miss Gallen, where's my money? You know, I'm taking care of your mom. There's no money. What does he say?
He kept blaming it on IHS. He needed to talk to them, and IHS just kept responding to me and was just like, he's crazy. I don't know why he keep reaching out to us. We keep repeating the same thing.
He said he never filled out forms.
Also, this is the contract that he signed stating that I am the IHS provider. If there's any extra fees that was over the hours that were allowed for her, that he would have to cover out of his pocket.
No, he said he never filled out these forms.
Well, no, that is the contract that he signed. We have to sign that with IHS first to approve me even being the worker for his mom. So once they approved me and I went through orientation, he signed that. He would be responsible for the hours. I kind of marked it on there where it states that this is the contract and this, this is what comes with it. Also, here are the timesheets I submitted.
Okay, not necessary. He acknowledges that he didn't pay you any more than, he says 100, you said 3, that's actually in your favor, $2,612. I suggest you take it out of the $13,000 that you received from your mother's life insurance. I'm sure she would like her caregiver paid, the one who took care of her in the last couple of months of her life. Your counterclaim, which is ridiculous, is dismissed as for the reasons I already said. The fact that the defendant may have either smoked with or allowed your mother to smoke in the last couple of years of her life is ridiculous. You're the one who said to me, my mother is my mother is my mother. She'll do what she wants to do. Not something like that. Yeah.
Yes, Your Honor.
You're done. So's your counterclaim. $2,600.
This court is adjourned.
My mom's death, I've been doing everything I can to make sure that she was taken care of. And, it's unfortunate.
I'm really happy with the decision today. I was glad that she was able to see through all the lies and everything.
The plaintiff would give her cigarettes to stash for her so she would not overindulge herself smoking cigarettes.
Yes, I would go and get her the cigarettes because that was her last thing that she wanted, so.
At best, while taking care of my mom, she did a pretty good job with that. I've never denied that. I've also wanted her to get paid.
Just blamed it on IHHS and there was no really reason for him not to pay me at all.
I've been ready to put it behind me. This has been a nightmare since my mom's death and right before that. So I'm certainly glad to get it behind me.
I really did give her the best care that I could, She was happy. She was very happy, so I'm okay with everything.
Cases like this are sad, but it really shines the light on the whole sector that is elder law. And there's so many federal and state programs to make the elderly and vulnerable feel more comfortable, to be able to stay in their home, to be able to pick their own provider. But unfortunately, because of all the overlap and lack of oversight, there's a lot of fraud that takes place with the most vulnerable population. And like you were just talking about, your mother is the one that you rely on for a majority of your younger years, to keep you alive, bathe you, feed you. And towards the end, it's just unfortunate that they don't receive the same care as we do in the beginning.
Yeah, that not being watched as carefully by the people that they cared for.
Yeah, but the plaintiff here surprised me. I mean, working 2 months, 5 days a week.
And she stuck with the job.
For no money and no real end in sight for when she was going to be paid. I respect her for that. She obviously cares about her business and about her craft as being a healthcare worker, so I appreciate that, but it shouldn't fall on kind-hearted people like that to take care of our elderly.
Maybe. Not sure. Yeah. I think that not everybody is fortunate enough to have children.
Yeah.
If you have children that fit into that mold. And I think that it's wonderful that the state, for those people that don't have loving families to support them if they're sick or elderly, for the state to provide a mechanism for those people to get from their bed to a bathroom, to another room, to a meal, perhaps. I think it's wonderful. I think that this country, Sarah, can't do everything.
Yeah.
And I know that we discussed a moment ago, not bringing in another case, but to me, when you don't give money to somebody who did work in the betterance of society, and you send stimulus money to prisoners who were there because they did something wrong, and you send $1.2 billion in stimulus money to people who are serving life terms in prison, to me, doesn't make sense. But perhaps somebody will straighten me out a couple of cases from now.
Maybe, we'll see.
Brian Parkinson is suing his neighbor, Shelley Burke, for a false claim leading to his arrest.
Court come to order. All rise.
Be seated, please.
Hello, Judge.
Why are you, Kevin?
Case 2201, Parkinson versus Burke.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mr. Parkinson, you are suing the defendant, alleging that she caused you to be falsely arrested.
That is correct.
The defendant has a counterclaim. Her counterclaim is based upon the same incident for which you were arrested. She's claiming that you placed both herself and her passenger in her car in fear because you displayed erratic behavior and threatened them with a gun. And I gather that you two live in a gated community. Is that correct?
Yes,
where is that?
Arkansas.
How long have you lived there?
8 years.
And you?
26 years.
This incident occurred on what date, sir?
June 7th.
Of last year?
Yes.
You were driving what kind of car, Mr. Parkinson?
A gray Toyota Tundra.
Sir, I think I know what that looks like. Could you bring that up for me so that I can see? A Toyota Tundra.
Yes.
That doesn't sound like a little car. That sounds like a big car.
It's a truck.
Big. And what kind of car were you driving?
A Toyota Camry.
That I know what it looks like. It's a regular size, smallish car. This incident happened, according to the complaint, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
That's correct.
I'm going to start with you, Mr. Parkinson, since it's your claim for false arrest.
Yes.
So I want you to tell me your version of what happened on June 7th, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I assume you were on your way home.
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Go ahead.
Miss Burke pulled out of the station in front of my vehicle, directly in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes extremely hard.
Okay. Either because she wasn't paying attention, right?
Could be.
Could be. Well, you wouldn't think. Just let me stop. When was the last time you were psychiatrically hospitalized?
Never.
Are you currently taking any psychotropic medication?
No, ma'am.
Were you intoxicated on the 7th of June?
No, ma'am.
4 o'clock in the afternoon?
No, ma'am.
So, Mr. Parkinson, let me go back a little bit. This is a non-psychotic, not drunk person. So if you're a thinking person, you know that if she pulled out, either she wasn't paying attention because she's not driving the Tundra, you are. You're driving a this, she's driving a this. So she wouldn't place herself and her son in harm's way purposely to pull out in front of your Tundra.
I would hope not.
Well, I would say absolutely not. I don't have to even guess about that. She did not put herself purposely in harm's way. And so she pulled out in front of you. You had to put on your brakes hard.
For her safety.
You weren't thinking about her safety. You're not thinking about anybody's safety. It's a reaction. If somebody pulls out unexpectedly, you put your brakes on.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's not going through your mind for her safety. It's put your brakes on. I mean, because if you were thinking about her safety, then we wouldn't be here today. So after you put on your brakes to stop, did anything happen?
Some objects in the back of my truck dislodged, some stuff in the back of the seat moved.
And these things that got dislodged, did they get dislodged from the back cab in the truck or from the interior of the truck?
Both in the bed and the interior.
Okay, what got dislodged in the interior?
Some paperwork, some clothing.
Okay, so it fell on the floor?
Yes.
Okay, and in the back part of the truck?
Bed of the truck, some tools shifted also.
Didn't fall out of the truck. They just moved from one place to another.
That is correct.
What did you do next?
I proceeded to follow Miss Burke into the village because I live in the village.
When you say you followed her in, describe what you mean you followed her in.
She was in front of me, and I followed her into the village.
Don't play with me, sir. I read your complaint. You were tailing her.
Yes.
Yes. Well, let's say I was tailing her closely because you were annoyed.
Yes.
There we go. So you understand at this point, sir, that what you were involved in is road rage. You, not her. She was an accident. She was negligent. She wasn't paying attention. Let's say all of those things, not on purpose, because that would be stupid, and she has not recently been psychiatrically hospitalized. You, on the other hand, made a purposeful decision to tail her because you were annoyed that your tools moved. That's what happened. Would that be a fair statement, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, I was annoyed.
Okay, you were annoyed, and what followed was an incident of road rage. Your husband, you've been in the car with him when he's had a little bit of road rage? Think about it before you answer me. Have you been in the car with him when he has reacted in a different way from the way you would have reacted to another car?
He has, very minimal.
The answer is either yes or no. Have you been with him in the car when he has reacted in a way that you would not have reacted in a traffic situation?
Yes, ma'am.
Brian Parkinson claims his neighbor, Shelley Burke, owes for the costs of being falsely arrested. Shelley is countersuing Brian for emotional distress, saying he threatened her with a gun.
And when he's reacted that way, did you ever say anything to him?
It was minimal. I didn't respond to it.
Really? Okay, good. When my husband gets involved in one of those road rage things because somebody cuts him off, I'm all over him like white on rice. Are you crazy, putting me in jeopardy because you got a bad temper? That's what I say to my husband. She can attest to that. Me, I once said it to a police officer who pulled him over. Give him a ticket. Give him 2 tickets. Maybe he'll stop. Right?
True.
So now you're involved in a road rage hissy fit and you're tailgating her. How many blocks did you tail her? Or how many miles did you tail her? Don't look as if you don't understand my question.
No.
Okay, good.
3/4 of a mile, if that.
Okay, well, that's a pretty long way, 3/4 of a mile. So you were tailing her for 3/4 of a mile. And at some point, did she make a turn with her car to avoid you tailing her?
Yes.
A 90-degree turn?
Yes.
So tell me, now you're following her for 3/4 of a mile, and she makes this turn.
Yes.
Now, when she made that sharp turn, did you follow her?
Nope.
No.
No.
No. I know you didn't follow her because she made that turn to get away from you. Do you understand? I've been on this earth a very long time. You, Mr. Parkinson, are an ordinary guy with a bad temper. So I've played this scene in my head, both from personal experience and from watching other jerks like you, in my head 100 times. So when she made this turn, she made the turn to get away from you, and you said, well, I accomplished my mission. I jarred her a little bit. That's if I believe your story, all of it. And you went home. Now, I'm to the point where she makes the turn and you went home. So far, correct?
That is correct.
Does that look familiar to you, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, it does.
Okay, so I would like you to walk over there, show me where the gas station is, and show me where you started to follow her.
I'll be more than happy to. Of course, it says Shell right here. That's where the incident began.
Right.
She pulled out immediately in front of me, causing me to hit my brakes.
Just a second. So she caused you to hit your brakes?
Yes.
That I know.
Then she turned right. I followed her into the village. Everybody gets close.
No. Just show me. I followed her into the village and
Right
show me
here.
where you proceeded.
Then we drove down, and she turned, I believe, here or here.
Turned how?
To the right.
Okay. And you proceeded to your house?
Yes.
Okay. Now you can step back. So she turned off to get away from the maniac who was tailgating her because she had made a mistake in pulling out in front of him at a gas station. You go home, and what do you do when you get home?
I backed my truck in.
And then what did you do?
I got out of my truck to move the tools and stuff that had shifted to the front of the bed, to the back of the bed, where I can get to them better for work, because I had to slam on the brakes twice.
Mr. Parkinson, do you know what doesn't make sense to me? Your husband isn't a stupid man, is he?
No, ma'am.
No. Now, I don't drive a truck, but I know when I go to the store and buy 2 gallons of chicken soup with matzo balls, and I go to put them in the car, I say to myself, Judy, it's possible that you're going to have to stop short, that a light's going to turn red. So I put the chicken soup in between the front seat and the back seat of the car, and I move the seat so it's stable, so that if my car stops a little short, because even if it stops a little short, my chicken soup would be on the floor of the car. So I make sure that it doesn't move. It just doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't secure this toolbox any better. If you stop short, those tools are naturally going to move, right? The weight of the tools is actually going to move. Okay, so I just am putting this whole thing in my head. Do you need a permit to buy a gun in Arkansas?
You do not have to have a permit to carry in Arkansas. It is an open carry state.
But you have to make an application.
You have to apply to buy a handgun or long rifle.
Have you ever done that?
Yes, I have, multiple times.
Just a second. So the answer is yes.
Yes.
What have you applied to buy?
Numerous guns.
Which you still have?
Yes.
I assume that you keep those guns within the proximity of your home.
They are all kept in the house, Your Honor.
The next thing, according to you, the police show up at your door.
That is correct.
And they have a conversation with you about a report.
Yes, they
that
did.
Someone in your area has complained that there were shots fired by you out of your truck during this road rage incident.
That's what the statement says.
That's what the statement says. And I assume that the police searched the truck.
The police searched me.
Did they search the truck?
I gave the police the authority to search my truck willingly.
They searched the truck.
I told them they could.
Mr. Parkinson, I know that you think that I'm stupid. I know that you must think that I'm stupid. Did you give the police permission to search your house? The answer is yes or no.
No.
Of course not. Because in your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Correct.
In your house, that's a yes or a no. In your house, they would have found multiple guns.
Yes.
You keep multiple guns in your house, but don't carry one around for protection in your truck. When did they arrest you?
I was arrested on August 2nd.
Okay. And?
I was told to call the village police department. I promptly called them, and they told me I had a warrant for my arrest.
And?
I was very shocked.
And?
And I was charged with felony assault, and I had to pay $1,080 to bond and fees to get out of jail.
And?
I was released from jail. And then on the 17th, is that correct?
19th.
The 19th of August, I had a court date.
And?
It was nolle prost, due to the request of the village police department for lack of evidence.
Okay. And?
So I'm out that amount of money for bond for a false arrest because a false statement and half a day.
Okay, we're going to find out if it's a false statement. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I have to let that sink into you, Mr. Parkinson. So far, I'm not thinking it's a false statement. I'm going to hear the defendant. I know one thing for certain. You were involved in a road rage incident and you were the perpetrator. Whether or not you flashed a gun, she's going to tell me. We certainly know that you have guns, according to you, multiple guns, in your house. I suppose you have a couple for you and a couple for your wife. Who else lives in your house with you?
Just two of us.
Just the two of you. How many guns does he have in the house?
Brian Parkinson is accusing his neighbor, Shelley Burke, of lying to the police and getting him falsely arrested. Shelley claims Brian was shooting his gun while following her home.
How many guns does he have in the house?
We have 2 long guns that he used for hunting, and we each have a handgun.
And you each have a handgun?
Yes.
Good.
They are in travel cases that are locked.
You want to know something? I don't believe that.
But we have grandchildren that come over.
When there were grandchildren, you may lock them. Okay, now we're going to you, Miss Burke. Did you see him when you cut him off?
I did not.
Let's start out with the fact that you were exiting the gas station. Mm-hmm. You didn't see him. You weren't paying attention. You didn't look that way. Whatever it was, you cut him off. So let's start from there.
You got it. This gray truck comes up behind me, swerving and revving his motor and all that. Got as close as he possibly could.
Why don't you show me over
I will
there?
do that. Okay. There's 2 lanes going into the village. There's a left and a right lane. I go left, he goes right. Well, I get in front of him, and then he starts getting behind me, swerving his car back and forth, revving his motor. He is so close. He's probably closest to me and him. I mean, he's not a car length away. He's right up on my bumper. And revving his truck, and I'm going the speed limit. Then I turn, make a left. He's still right on me, never lets up. It's kind of a tricky area because it's curvy. So when I go around this one S-curve, I hear a pop. And I'm like, oh my God, he just shot at us. I said, call 911. When I start coming back down again, I look in my passenger mirror. I saw the spark. I saw it. I'll never forget it. And he heard it. We heard, even on the phone call, I think you can possibly hear it. He popped the gun again. And then he's on 911 talking to her, and the lady's saying, be calm, be calm. And I'm leaning down in the car. He's trying to tell me to go. He looks like he's going on past us. But when he does that, he rolls down the window, and you could see him holding a gun in his hand. And he says something I can't understand what he's saying. He's getting the license plate numbers. We thought he kept on going.
So your son got the license number?
Yeah, he got the license plate number. He's on the phone with 911 at this time.
And that's what was given to the police?
Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Well, I got the 911 call here with us today.
I would like to hear it. Step back. Can I hear the 911 call, please?
Go, 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 go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was shooting at us.
What?
He's a gray Toyota truck. He was shooting at us. His license plate number is...
I need all units. We got a vehicle that is, the complainant's on 911 saying the vehicle is shooting at them. I'm fixing to run the tag. Who am I speaking with?
This is Leslie Scott Rogers.
And you said what kind of vehicle was it?
It's a gray Toyota Tundra. Go.
It's coming back on a gray Toyota Tundra, and that's what the complainant says. It's a 2014 Toyota Tundra.
Okay, start that 911 call all over again. Pay careful attention, because I thought at the beginning of this tape, I too heard a shot. Could we start again, please? Take your hand out of your pocket.
Go, 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 go!
911, what is your emergency?
Somebody was shooting at us.
There it is. There it is. Got it. You can stop it.
That doesn't sound like a gunshot.
Mm-hmm. Your case is dismissed, Mr. Parkinson. Your case is dismissed. I have a counterclaim, so stand where you are. The counterclaim is by Miss Burke for the emotional trauma that she, let's just talk about her, went through as a result of your road rage and shooting your gun at her, which you did. You probably didn't shoot it to hit her or to hit the car, because I don't think you're that stupid. Stupid, yes, but I don't think that's stupid. I think you did it to frighten her, just to frighten her. Then I think that you brought the gun that you keep in your truck when you work, maybe on your person, which you probably have a perfectly legal right to do, and you took the gun, you said, just in case something happens, because I did, in fact, shoot my gun in her direction, because I heard it on the 911 call. I better put it in the house. I better put it in the house. So you took the gun and you brought it into the house, and then saying, oh, police are here. Oh, well, search my truck. You won't find a gun. Search me. You won't find a gun on me. Don't search my house. And I guarantee you that you didn't say to the policeman when they came, I do have a gun, but it's locked in my house. Show me something where you told the police that you had a gun, but it was in the house. Nothing, because it didn't happen. Based upon that 911 call, the fact that you were involved in a road rage incident with her, tailing her at least 3/4 of a mile, right on her tail, causing that 911 call, as far as I'm concerned, that's trauma. My heart would have been racing triple time, because I don't know whether behind me is a lunatic or just a stupid guy who can't control his temper, and his wife hasn't been able to beat it out of him for the last how many years you're married. Because there's no question he's done that sort of thing before. Maybe not with a gun. Maybe not with a gun. When was the last time, sir, prior to this time, that you were arrested? When was the last time prior to this time that you were arrested? Year?
19.
Then 19, your age, or 2019?
2019.
2019. For what? Now, don't think, I know that if I were arrested once, a couple of years ago, I would have remembered what it was.
Well, I was arrested for supposed harassment, violation of no contact order. What else?
No, don't look at her.
It's been so many times, I can't remember.
So you've been arrested multiple times?
Yes.
Okay, good. Nice. You picked him.
I don't see how this pertains.
How does it pertain?
I do
for your propensity for violence, sir.
This has nothing to do with violence.
No, it does have to do with her counterclaim. $5,000 is what your counterclaim is for. Is that correct? Judgment on the counterclaim for $5,000. Your claim's dismissed. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
It was a very bad day.
We do not carry weapons in our vehicles.
I won't even go out at night anymore because I'm scared he's coming by my house.
She described in the report a black weapon. We don't have a black handgun.
The truth is, I saw the guns.
Well, I think she created a situation by admitting she didn't see me.
I don't understand why he would even say that.
People want to drive stupid, let them and just back off.
The plaintiff was certainly not forthcoming. I let him search my truck. I let him search me. What about your house? Did you tell them I do have a gun, but it wasn't out, it wasn't me, because I leave my guns at, my 2 long guns and my 2 short guns at home? You could hear the pop in the first part of that when
911 call.
When he was hysterical. And believe me, he wasn't hysterical.
Just because someone's tailing you.
Just because someone's tailing you. You don't call 911. You pull into your house and you lock the door fast. You only do that if someone's pointing a gun. And so there's no question. There's no question that he did that. How dare you put someone in fear purposely?
You're just doing it to create a fear in someone. And to do that, especially to a woman driving in front of you in a small Camry, it says more about him than it says anything else, I think.
At that moment, I'd put him in jail for 5 days and say, yeah, next time, don't do it.
89, Hernandez versus Vieira. All parties, please step forward.
Sofia Hernandez is suing her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, for vet bills after her dog was injured during Cherie's care.
Miss Hernandez, how old is your puppy?
She's 6 months, Your Honor.
And when she was 4 months old, you needed a home sitter for your dog. Or
Yes.
you needed a place to board her for a weekend, long weekend. You live on an Army base.
A naval base.
Naval base. Does the defendant live on the base as well?
Yes, Your Honor.
And she approached you, or whatever, and said that she was available for sitting. Is that what you do to make some extra money?
Yes, Your Honor.
And on the 22nd of December of last year, which is when this incident occurred, you dropped the dog off at the defendant's home.
December 16th.
Was the 16th?
Yes.
And when you dropped the puppy off at the defendant's home, she was in perfectly fine shape.
Yes.
She looked very sweet.
Thank you.
So what happened when she dropped the puppy off at your house?
Sofia Hernandez claims her dog sitter, Cherie Vieira, is responsible for vet bills after her dog Dolce was injured during Cherie's care.
Because Ms. Hernandez has an outstanding vet bill for surgery on the dog's leg, which was broken, while in your care.
Yes, Your Honor.
So why don't you tell me how that happened?
Miss Hernandez brought Dolce to our house. We took her in, and we had also another
Not
dog.
me. I want you to tell me, you. When you say you took her in, did you or somebody else?
It's a family effort. My children also help take care of the dogs. I started watching dogs because my youngest child was deathly afraid of dogs. She was bit by a dog at the age of 2. So we started this so she could learn how to take care of dogs properly, know their signs and things like that. And we took Dolce into my daughter's room.
Which daughter?
Into my youngest daughter's room.
Is that you?
I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest. And how old is your youngest daughter?
She's 10.
Okay, so once you took her into your daughter's room, she was alone with the puppy?
No, all 3 of us were in the room. What we like to do is we
No, I don't want you to tell me what you like to do. Okay. I want you to be consistent with what you put in your answer. You were all in your daughter's room?
Yes.
Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just 1 second. Okay. So your husband was with another dog in the yard?
Yes.
So I brought this dog into my daughter's room, your 10-year-old daughter's room, to settle down.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you don't know what happened because you weren't watching.
I was actually...
No, you were not watching. That's what it says here.
Well, I was taking pictures.
It doesn't make any difference. You weren't watching. You don't know what happened. If you were taking pictures, that would be on your camera.
I have pictures here of Dolce that I was actually sending to
No,
Ms.
I don't
Hernandez.
care. It would be on your camera if you were taking pictures. And if you were taking pictures, then you would have exactly what happened with the dog that caused the dog to have a broken leg. But you don't have those pictures. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So that you were not watching and you did not see what happened at the moment the dog was injured?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
But I do have a witness that I brought with me, my daughter, who actually did see as I was sending pictures to Ms. Hernandez.
You sure you want to do that? Are you sure you want to do that? Be very careful, Miss Vieira. Are you sure you want to put her there for me to question? Are you sure? Are you sure?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Your
I don't
Honor.
think, I don't think so. But it's your choice. Let's go. I want you to tell me something that I'm going to believe, that you and your mother were in the room with your 10-year-old sister and you saw what happened with the dog.
Yes.
Just a second. I want you to make sure that that's what you're telling me. So you were in the room?
Yes, I was.
Okay. Your first name is?
Abigail.
I'd like to see a picture of Abigail in the room with the dog when you were sending pictures, allegedly, to the plaintiff of the dog. I just want to see pictures of her in the room.
Your Honor, I did not make pictures of those.
Why not? She was there. You were taking pictures of the dog. I assume your 10-year-old's room is not the size of this courtroom. So if you were taking pictures, Abigail would be in those pictures.
Your Honor, I actually have a picture of her leg after I was bit by Dolce.
I don't care after you were bit by Dolce. You were bit by the puppy because she was injured.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. That was after she was injured.
Yes.
I want to see a picture of your daughter that you were taking pictures of, allegedly to send to the plaintiff to show her how the dog was adjusting.
I do not have pictures of that,
Right.
Your Honor.
Yeah. Miss Vieira, do you want to know the truth? I don't believe you were in the room with your daughter, either one of them, and the puppy. I think that you left the puppy with your 10-year-old, and you don't know what happened. That's what I believe. And whether I believe, and it's accurate or not accurate, the dog was injured in your care. So you're responsible for the surgical bill. It's that simple. Dog got a broken leg in your care with enough adults there to watch the dog. Your husband, the older daughter, and you put her in the room with your 10-year-old because you thought it would be cute. Your 10-year-old wanted to play with her. That's what happened. Can I see the vet bill, please?
Yes, Your Honor. I have the urgent care bill and the surgery bill as well.
So the invoice was $58.18?
For the surgery.
And $862. $66.08, judgment for the plaintiff. We're done.
This court is adjourned.
You know, I'm happy because those vet bills are really high. You know, it's not something that you could take on at the time.
I was in the room with the dog. The dog jumped from the floor, and it was a freak accident. But
my dog was healthy, you know. She had just been at the vet. She's gotten her shots. She was healthy.
I still don't know. I researched online. I think maybe that the dog already had an injury prior. She was at my house 25 minutes.
I would never drop off my dog like that.
She jumped up to retrieve a toy out of my daughter's hand from the floor, a fluffy carpet, and she landed and cried.
With a pre-existing condition, I would watch her myself.
About 3 minutes after, I called her mom to let her know that she was hurt, injured.
You know, my heart dropped. You know, I was upset we didn't go on the trip, but she's my baby. Turned around.
She wanted to know how bad it was because she wanted to go on her trip, and I told her it was bad enough for her dog to bite me.
We took her straight to the urgent care.
I asked her to come back to get her dog. I didn't want to move the dog, so she came back and had us bring the dog out.
She had a fractured leg.
Freak accident, kind of feel like, I don't know, it wasn't fair.
They didn't give me one. They just ignored my messages asking for payment.
I'm glad the dog's okay.
Dulce's great. Her leg is healed. She's on a recovery program.
So, no issue?
Simple.
Dog's in your care? The dog didn't break its leg itself?
Yep.
You know, common sense dictates to me that they brought the puppy in to play with the 10-year-old. Otherwise, they would have had photographs of the other daughter in the room. It didn't happen, but it really doesn't matter. Because
no bad intentions, no, you know, nothing was done on purpose, but...
No, but it was negligent.
Sure.
Because if you allow a
Negligence per se.
10-year-old...
If a dog breaks a leg, it doesn't break it on its own. Yeah.
It's your fault.